risque behavior.
The views and opinions expressed on this channel are solely those of the host and guest and are intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. This channel does not promote bias, hatred, or discrimination of any kind. All questions posed and thoughts shared are part of a critical thinking exercise and are not meant to offend or judge any individual or group. We encourage respectful dialogue and love for all. Please remember to think critically and engage thoughtfully. We aim to foster a positive and inclusive community where everyone feels welcome. Thank you for being a part of Risky Behavior ENT.
Risque behavior.
Yo, what is up? What is up? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I forgot to do my regular intro video, and I'm going to be extremely upset if I don't get it done. Oh my gosh. Where is it? Oh well. Ha, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, y'all know what I'm here to talk about. The Karmelo Anthony's hearing where he was seeking a new trial. By now, everyone knows, and the results are in. He was denied. Let's go ahead and get into this news.
FAA News at 5 with breaking news. Within the past 90 minutes, a judge denied a motion for a new trial in the Karmelo Anthony appeal. Anthony was convicted in June of stabbing and killing a fellow high school athlete, Austin Metcalf, at a track meet in Frisco last year. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison. WFAA senior crime and justice reporter Rebecca Lopez has been covering the story from the very beginning. She is live in our newsroom this evening with the judge's decision. Rebecca?
Teresa, the judge denied the motion after 2 days of testimony focused on two major issues raised by Anthony's new attorneys. The defense argued Anthony's constitutional right to a public trial was violated because the original judge did not provide an overflow courtroom and more access to the public. They also argued an informal agreement between prosecutors and Anthony's former attorney fell apart and affected the decision not to have Anthony testify. Now, the two sides have agreed to keeping damaging information about both Anthony and the away from the jury and focus only on what happened the day Metcalf was stabbed. Anthony's former attorneys testified they had collected allegations involving prior fights and racist incidents involving Austin and Hunter Metcalf, his twin brother. Prosecutors presented school disciplinary records and messages attributed to Anthony involving fighting, weapons, and violent threats and racist comments. The agreement was never put in writing, and the two sides disagreed over whether it protected Anthony from being questioned about his past if he testified. Legal expert Keith Harris says the hearings were emotional because this was the first time the public heard much of this evidence.
And so I know that there's a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings right now, and a lot of that is because this is the first time that people heard a lot of this stuff. And maybe it does make a difference in the outcome, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe things are different one way or the other, good or bad for either side. But I think that that is a lot of the surprise right now, is because there was a lot of stuff that people didn't hear, and maybe they should, maybe they would have if it had been streamed, maybe if there had been more public access, maybe if there were just so many things. And so I think that that's what we kind of have to balance, that's a lot of the emotion behind it as well.
The judge's ruling leaves Anthony's murder conviction in place, but his attorneys can now take their arguments to a higher court. Now, the Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis issued this statement: "We respect and expected the court's decision denying the motion for a new trial. The jury's guilty verdict stands, and we remain confident in the process. Every defendant has the right to appeal, and our thoughts and prayers remain with the Metcalf family in the painful wake of last week's hearing." Now, Willis, by the way, was in the courtroom for the entire trial and all of the hearings. Anthony's attorneys have already filed an order to appeal, so this will go to an appellate court, Teresa.
Okay, Rebecca, let's talk about the timeline of that. It will go to an appellate court, but that could take a while, right?
It could. It could take months before it goes to the Fifth Court of Appeals first, and then if that is denied, then it could go to the Court of Criminal Appeals, and if that's denied, it could go all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. So we're looking at months, possibly years, before we see any kind of resolution of whether or not all of this stands. Teresa.
Right. Rebecca Lopez live for us in our WFAA newsroom. Thank you for all of your coverage over the last few days and months as well.
Well, there you have it. You got your answer. A lot of people are not happy. Shout out to my brother, the Prince of Petty, is in the building. Yes, Prince, he was denied. Bro, let me give you your intro. You know what? A lot of people owe us some money, man, after this. They really, really, really do. A lot of people owe us some money. They do. We're about to go over everything that has happened thus far, the information that was released. And it was a lot of people saying that he did not get a fair trial. After seeing what they hid from the public, anybody that wants to still fight about this, riot in the streets, hurt each other, threaten each other, you are officially an idiot. After this hearing, I'm gonna say both of these young men were some thugs. That's how I feel about it. I'm washing my hands with the situation. I will no longer give any more emotion to either one of these kids. I'm not. One was a thug and one was a real gangster. And they met up one day and unfortunately one didn't make it. Of course, I don't want to see children hurt each other. I don't want to see anyone dies, but anybody still fighting about this, like seriously, hang it up. Shout out to Robbie says that the boy did the crime, now do the time. Agreed, agreed, agreed. And oh my God, how do y'all feel about these parents, man? The parents of these two boys that just basically pull the wool over all of our eyes. I mean, I feel bamboozled. Like these parents, both of these kids, their parents got on the news, did interviews, and did the whole "my little boo boo never hurt nobody." These were psychopaths. Like let's call it what it is. Psychopaths. Shout out to Prince of Petty says, yes, I'm owed money. I said what it was from day one. A black man, I've been against this. Shout out to Victor Williams, still saying justice for Karmelo Anthony. Victor, I think you're fighting the losing battle. I don't know. Like, seriously, how can you get around this one? It was a fair trial. They hid both of their past and said, hey, look, we ain't going to talk about the crazy stuff you was doing. We ain't going to talk about the crazy stuff he was doing. We just only going to deal with what happened that day. I think they did the best they could when it comes to these two young men. Shout out to Joshua Benjamin says, did he celebrate the news that he will not be separated from his new wife? Yo. Sideways say, what we talking about? The black boy stab the white boy. Yeah, the track meet. Yep, Austin Metcalf and the Carmelo Anthony. What's the verdict? Oh, they denied his new trial, so he will not be getting a new trial. So as it stands, his 35 year sentence is staying what it is. President Petty says Carmelo got his justice. It's called Big Rob and Cell Block D. Oh man. So all right, let's go ahead and jump into this. Try to do this really quick, go through my intro. So April 2nd, 2025, a rainy spring day in Frisco, Texas. Hundreds of high school athletes, parents, and coaches gathered for a massive track meet. The atmosphere is loud, energetic, and normal. Oh man. Let me do this. Beneath the bleachers of the stadium, an escalating confrontation is brewing under a team tent. Minutes later, a 17-year-old boy lies dying on the concrete, his life cut short by a single pocket knife wound to the chest. Fast forward to June 2026. A 19-year-old young man, tears streaming down his face, hears a judge declare him guilty of murder. The sentence, 35 years in a maximum security Texas prison. And for those of you who have been hiding under a rock, let's go to the day of that stabbing that landed him in prison for 35 years.
Frisco 911, what is the location of the emergency?
Hi, we're at Kuykendall Stadium. My friend just got stabbed.
Okay, do you know who stabbed him?
We have no clue. He was sitting in our tent, but you need to send an ambulance right now.
They're on the way, okay? Give me a description of the person that stabbed him.
He was wearing a gray Essentials hoodie. He was black. He's standing out on the track right now.
He's standing on the track?
Yeah.
Okay.
His blue sweatpants on and John.
Okay, what did he stab your friend with?
I don't know. My friend's bleeding everywhere.
Okay. Okay. Where was he stabbed at?
On the chest.
Okay. And do you still see the person that stabbed him, or did he leave?
It was Austin. Austin got stabbed in the chest. I'm sorry, what did you say?
The person that stabbed him, is he still there? Do you still see him?
There's adults on him, I think. Yeah.
There's adults that are trying to keep him there?
Know who he is. Sorry, what?
The person that stabbed your friend, is he still there?
Yeah, he's still here.
Okay, and
He's with the coach.
there's a coach with him?
Yes, he's got him.
Okay. Do you know if he still has the weapon on him?
No clue, but he's like he can't do nothing. He's done.
What do you mean?
He stabbed Austin Metcalf in the chest. What?
What do you mean he can't do anything? What's going on with him?
Coaches have him. He can't hurt anyone.
Okay, when you say they have him, are they physically holding him down?
No, they're just holding him, walking around.
Okay.
Okay. He was under our team. Austin tried to make a move.
Okay. What's your name?
Nathan Nordyke.
What's your last name? Nathan.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your last name?
Nordyke.
Okay. And do you see any of the responders there yet?
We hear the sirens, but
Okay.
the coaches sent us out. We're all walking to our buses.
Okay. So you're going to get on a bus right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the rest of the students are walking towards the buses?
Yeah, everyone's being evacuated out the stadium.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being quick.
Okay. Just follow whatever directions you're being provided by either the officers or by your coaches, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect with you, Nathan, but we've got all kinds of help headed that way.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh man. All right. So that's the 911 call. I wanted to play the other video of where is it at? Of the body cam footage. Then I'm gonna jump ahead to this and then I'm gonna jump ahead to the hearing and what's been going on. But yeah, he got the 35 years. But people have to remember, I believe he gets to go up. He gets to go up for parole in like half of that time. And that's one thing that I think, and I know people are saying, well, he got a plea deal and he denied it. Um, I think his defense team, he had a horrible defense strategy. I mean, he had horrible defense strategy when it came to the courtroom. He had an even worse defense strategy when it came to the court of public opinion. That Alexander, civil rights activist, whoever that dude was, should have never been representing the family. We already, I already did a video on him, and other people did. He was a baby beater, and he had so much dirt on his name. It was ridiculous the way the parents handled it. Um, it it just horrible all around. And speaking of him going up for parole, I think he can go up for parole in what, after maybe 10 years or something. Why would you go to a hearing seeking a new trial and let this other information about you that they hid? Why would you let that come out? You don't think they're going to look at that when he goes up for parole? I just I just do not like the strategy at all.
If somebody is treating the victim, they need to be over there.
North end under a memorial pen.
Don't reach for anything, all right, man? Stop right there for me. Dispatch 43 got these. And they're currently treating the victim. Again, he's on the north end of the stadium. All right. Any weapons on you like that? I'll look here. Help me, y'all back up a little bit. Come over here for me. Come over here. I'm gonna put your handcuffs for now, okay, bud? Dispatch 443. Everybody can slow down. I got the alleged suspect in handcuffs right now, detained.
Everyone else can slow down. Suspects detained in handcuffs.
Hold on. You can open up the channel, and medics are clear to come in. Have them come to the northeast entrance. That's gonna be a gate that's wide open there, and then you come to the victim from there. This is the alleged suspect. All right, okay. We'll figure that in a minute. So nothing on your person at all? Nothing? Mind if I reach in your pockets and stuff and all? You gonna stab them? Okay. I'm gonna be a little personal there, okay? Just to make sure. Okay.
Anybody else think it was odd that he did this stabbing in a essentials fear, what's that, the essential fear of God hoodie? Yes. I always thought that was just odd that you committed a murder while wearing that hoodie.
All right. The victim's going to be underneath that tent over there, so I'll get medics. Memorial tent over there, guys. All right. He put his hands on me. I told him. What's happening right now?
Oh man, let's see. It's weird whenever I look at this, how he's sitting so calm and then he starts to crying and boohooing when he realizes he's about to go get in the cop car.
Memorial tent over there, guys. All right. He put his hands on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me. What's happening right now? victim. We're on the north end. They got staffed in.
Right, Prince. Prince says, "Wait till he start crying. He put his hands on me." It is odd. None of that. It's like, you know how like when you watch these people and it's like they're trying to play this little silly game. It's like 1 minute they're crying, then 1 minute they're not crying, 1 minute they're sad, 1 minute they're not sad, and it sounds like a forced cry to me.
To him right now. This is the alleged suspect. Already? No. We searched them. Got nothing on him. I don't know what happened.
423. Trackers everything about CPR progress for a little bit.
Crazy.
You know, the wrong thing.
Crazy.
Nice out over here. Up to you. It's up to you.
That's fine. This is closer.
Okay. Let me do one more little check of you, okay? Yes, you don't mind for reaching your pockets, anything like that? You good?
See what I mean? And by the time he gets to the car, the crying is gone and he's back calm. Yes, sir. It's weird. It's just weird.
I'm wearing some little underwear. Oh yeah. Like no ma'am, I don't think so.
What's your name, man?
Karmelo Anthony, Karmelo.
Okay.
Crazy.
Have a seat here real quick, man. Watch your head. Let me check your hood here, buddy, okay? Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, lean this way so you're not resting on your hands, okay? Yes, all right, see a little bit of blood on your hands there, okay? Yes, all right.
402, I'm on scene.
So your first name is Karmelo?
Yes, sir. Karmelo.
Let's see, hold on one second. Okay. I don't know yet, man. Karmelo, C-A-R-A. K-A-R. M-E-L-O. Karmelo, what's your last name? A-N-T-H. And why? Where are you in?
I'm in 12th grade.
10th grade? You go to Emerson?
No, sir.
Where do you go? Centennial. Okay.
I'm in 12th grade.
12th grade?
Yes.
Okay. No, Centennial. All right, sit tight for me real quick, bud, all right?
Yep, and the crying is all over and done with by the time he gets to the cop car.
You're outside. Yeah, live continuing coverage. Our JD Miles, Andre Lucia, and our team, Aaron Jones, Marvin Hurst.
And of course, this is all the chaos and commotion when he was sentenced to 35 years. It's like a war breaking on outside of the courtroom. Of course, you know, you got to go back to the gentleman's deal that we found out about during his hearing where he, you know, his appeal, where he's trying to get his new trial. And you find out the whole time that you had people out there fighting for these two young men, they didn't know whom they were fighting for because they didn't know either one of these young men. The whole time they out there fighting. Exactly, Prince. The crime completely disappears. But yeah, people don't know who they fighting for. I mean, and the media and the family did a great job of presenting these young men as like upstanding citizens. You know, all this, especially with the whole Karmelo Anthony, you know, they reuse that story over and over again, talking about he saved somebody's life. And then you figure out this, then you see this boy got text messages where he talking about he want to stab somebody and lick the blood off the knife.
First, outside the Collin County Courthouse and also inside. And the sentence just read by the court, 35 years in prison is the sentence for Karmelo Anthony. And the jury rejected the opportunity to consider what was called sudden passion, an opportunity that would have given them a sentencing range anywhere from 2 to 20 years. But again, 35 years now in prison. And as JD Miles just reported, 17 and a half will be the mandatory minimum of that 35 before he can be considered for parole. JD, stand by. Andrea Lucia, what are you hearing among the crowd outside as that 35-year prison sentence was just handed down?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to step aside because people are just hearing this right now. I just saw a woman run down the street right here, letting everybody know 35 years, and we're seeing reactions of shock on people's faces. You can see people down there with their phones out. Again, that is.
Right, JT, licking a stranger's blood is mentally unbalanced. Straight psycho. Straight psycho. And I was on Clubhouse arguing with people like when people kept trying to say the whole he was afraid. I'm like, that he was afraid fear thing that people been using, you ain't gonna be able to use that no more. That's out the window.
Where a lot of the reaction is playing out. There appears to be shock among people here. A lot of the supporters of Karmelo Anthony have stuck around. We're waiting to show their support as the sentencing continued. And this is, of course, not what they wanted to hear. They wanted him to be acquitted. They wanted him to get a lesser sentence. Even though we're certainly closer to 5 than 99 years, 35 years for a 19.
Yeah. Yeah, they was upset, man. Yeah, people getting arrested out there, threats of violence out there, and who knew they was fighting and who knew that they was out there fighting this whole time for a little gangster, um, and a little KKK member. This whole damn time. All right. So today we're talking about this is the case of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. On the surface, the media painted a simple picture, a senseless act of violence triggered by a petty argument over a sports tent. A sports tent, I might add, neither one of their parents own. But behind closed doors, away from the eyes of the jury, a dark legal battle was raging. Rumors of a gentleman's agreement, a hidden shadow docket, suppressed racial slurs, and shocking character records kept both sides paralyzed in fear. So I want to welcome you all back to Risky Behavior ENT. I want to invite you all. Go ahead, man, and smash that like button, bring more people into the room. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a case that has captured national attention, triggered courthouse protest, and forced a sitting Texas judge off the bench, although he was on his way out the door anyway. Which is why some would speculate that that's probably why they put him on this case, because he on his way out the door. He ain't got to worry about people judging him after after how the case went. This is not just a story about a tragedy at a track meet. This is a deep dive into how a broken legal strategy, missing evidence, and the judge's post-trial media tour might just smash this entire conviction to pieces, or would have smashed this conviction to pieces, sending the case straight back to square one. Grab a seat. We need to talk about everything that really happened in Collin County. So to understand the chaotic legal war happening right now, we have to travel back to the day the clock started ticking, April 2nd, 2025. Karmelo Anthony and a 17-year-old who was a 17-year-old student from Frisco Centennial High School is walking around a crowded stadium. It's raining. He's seeking shelter. Anthony steps into this large tent set up in the bleachers, but the tent does not belong to his school. It belongs to the Frisco Memorial High School. So that's the school that is attended by 17-year-old junior Austin Metcalf. Now, what happens next varies depending on who you ask, but court transcripts give us a tense picture. Multiple student witnesses testified that Anthony is asked to leave the tent, not once, not twice, but up to 15 times. Anthony refuses to move. The tension spikes. Okay. Witnesses claim Anthony reaches inside his bag and utters a chilling warning, touch me and see what happens. Now, if you listen to some of the people on the internet, some of these liars out here, they try to change that statement. I was arguing with a girl on Clubhouse that says, why do you think Karmelo said, touch me again and see what happens? I was like, that is not what they said he said. Well, how you know? He said, well, we got to go by the court records. Now, Austin Metcalf steps forward. According to some witnesses, Metcalf tells Anthony, I'm not going to fight you. And this is because you have other witnesses that testified in that said that Karmelo Anthony was, saying, "Hey, I beat your ass." So that's another thing when people talk about the whole fear thing. Like, no, this boy was ready to go. All right. So moments later, physical contact is made. Metcalf shoves or nudges Anthony away. In less than a second, a pocket knife is drawn, a single thrust. The blade penetrates 2 inches into Metcalf's chest, piercing his right ventricle. Emergency crews rush to the stadium, but it is too late. Austin Metcalf is pronounced dead at a local hospital. Karmelo Anthony is arrested and charged with murder. And that, you know what, though, y'all, the whole knife stabbing always bothers me. It was kind of like a I don't want to say like a lucky shot, but many people I remember was arguing saying, how did he stab him through his sternum? Like, that hard piece of bone, that plate that protects your chest. And I was like, no, if you look at the medical examiner's report, it didn't. It just so happened to slide in through like the tissue. It didn't go through the bone. And it was just like this weird angle. And that's why I can believe Austin Metcalf may have been standing um a little bit higher than him. And so when Carmelo's coming up with that upward angle, he's able to make it through and hit his heart. If you change that situation around in any way, it's a possibility that Austin Metcalf would be alive, and this would just be, you know, I don't know what they call that, like assault and battery or something. It was if it was with a knife, it was, if you use a weapon. I don't know. So anyway, by June 2026, the case reaches the courtroom of a state district judge, John Roach Jr. in Collin County. The internet is already on fire at this point now. So on social media, the case is amplified heavily in racial terms. Anthony is black and Metcalf is white. This is a racial case, and you can see that even I don't know what's going on in this country now. People want to keep this race thing going on, and that's why when you see this case starts to die down, somebody's like, "Where's the next case going to come from that gets us into a racial war?" And then next thing you know, dun 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 dun, Nolan Wells, right? So, okay. Anyway, so Anthony is black, Metcalf is white. So yet inside the courtroom, both the prosecutors and the original defense team, led by attorney Mike Howard, tell the jury a completely different story. This tragedy has absolutely nothing to do with race. Why did they say that? This brings us to the core of the current appeal. Behind the scenes, the prosecution and defense made what they call a gentleman's agreement. This off the record deal meant both sides agreed to keep massive pieces of character evidence hidden from the jury. The goal was to turn down the temperature of a highly explosive case and keep the trial strictly focused on the final moments under the tent. Because of this agreement, the jury never heard the darker backgrounds of either team. They never knew that Austin Metcalf had a documented history of intense anger issues. School records revealed he had been suspended for talking about bringing a gun to school, had been banned from games or for screaming profanity, and has seen a counselor multiple times for uncontrollable rage. Crucially, the jury never heard that at a previous meet, when told someone was talking trash, Metcalf reportedly responded, "Kill that MF." Or whatever. This is my channel. Kill that motherfucker. On the flip side, the jury also never saw the prosecution's 75-page character dossier on Karmelo Anthony. That dossier contained text messages Anthony sent the morning of the stabbing, stating he was low-key on the verge, alongside past texts where he allegedly fantasized about stabbing someone. And I gotta add, lick the blood off the blade. Now, people get angry all the time and say things. And I remember talking to someone, they's like, well, if we went through your text messages, what would we find? You ain't gonna find me talking about I want to stab somebody and lick the blood off the blade. I'm confident with that. Come on now. Say no crap like that. You ain't gonna find nothing like that in my messages. All right. So the dossier contained text messages Anthony sent the morning of the stabbing, stating he was low key on the verge, alongside past texts where he allegedly fantasized about stabbing someone. The defense planned to put Anthony on the stand to argue self-defense, but at the absolute 11th hour, the prosecution dropped a bombshell. They argued the gentleman's agreement would not protect Anthony from being cross-examined on his dark text messages if he chose to testify. Shocked and terrified, the defense team froze. Anthony ultimately did not testify. The self-defense argument crumbled, and the jury found him guilty of murder, handing down a 35-year sentence. So we're going to be getting into the timeline of everything happening right now or over the past, days. So this is video from WFAA as Karmelo Anthony returns to court. Tensions are expected to increase once again.
A return to court for Karmelo Anthony's trial appeals is also the likely return of other things.
I think it's just going to fuel everything all over again.
Heightened security, lines to get inside, protests out there. 10 weeks after Karmelo Anthony was convicted of murder and sentenced 35 years in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf,
35 years!
His appeal for a new judge and a new trial begin. Benita Parker is a longtime defense attorney. Not a party to the case, she tells us the appeal hearings are happening on a very tight timeline.
The judge has 75 days from the verdict date. Everyone's doing their calculations of 75 days.
That means we could know by next Monday if a new trial is granted or even earlier. The defense laid out a long list of objections in support for a new trial.
A lot of people live right now.
About restrictions on public access.
It's the best we got.
A breakdown in unrecorded agreements about evidence.
We're arguing that the dispute regarding the agreement did impact the outcome of the trial.
What will also return is the lingering conversations both sides have maintained this trial should not be about.
From day one, this case was never about race.
Karmelo Anthony will be in court this week. His appeal could take years, and these hearings could take us all back to the trial in June.
There's too much at stake. One of the biggest trials of the decade.
In Collin County, I'm Jobin Puniker.
We begin with breaking news in McKinney as Karmelo Anthony works to appeal his conviction and seeks a new trial. Within the past hour, the judge who presided over the murder trial has been removed from the case. Let's go straight to our JD Miles, who was inside the courtroom when that decision was announced. So, JD, what can you tell us?
Well, Karen, from everyone I've spoken to in the legal community, they found this decision today very surprising. But as Judge Sid Harrell, the visiting judge, said himself when he made this ruling, this was far from a typical murder trial. The hearing lasted only an hour. The only evidence presented was 18 minutes of a raw interview that Judge John Roach did with a media outlet 2 days after the verdict in June. The defense tried to use that interview to show that the judge was biased by saying he agreed with the jury and other things. And in the end, the visiting judge agreed and granted the recusal. Now, earlier this morning, there were protests and there were demonstrations and chants outside the Collin County Courthouse. I was inside the courtroom where Karmelo Anthony appeared for the first time since the last day of his trial. He was in a dark green prison jumpsuit with shackles. He looked noticeably thinner. The judge allowed the defense to remove those shackles during the hearing. After the defense played audio of the interview, appeals attorney Russell Wilson argued that the judge violated canons of conduct not to speak about the case when a case is pending or there's an impending hearing, which in this case is the appeal. The visiting judge didn't agree with everything the defense said, but in his ruling, he said, quote, "In my opinion, there was a period where a motion for a new trial could be filed, and I believe Judge John Roach believes he can be fair in this matter. I believe he can be fair in this matter, but that's not the test."
I think it is surprising. I think most observers probably thought that that was not going to happen, that Roach didn't do anything outside the bounds of his judicial canons or judicial responsibilities. And the judge here in the case obviously disagreed. So now there's a new judge that will be appointed, and the hearing for motion for new trial goes on. This doesn't speak to whether or not the motion for new trial will be granted or not. This just speaks to who the judge will be that will be presiding over that hearing.
And that was longtime Collin County criminal defense attorney Todd Shapiro. He's not connected to this case, but he offered some legal analysis there, and he made it clear that this does not necessarily mean anything about what's going to happen tomorrow when there's a motion for a trial, because the evidence that the judge heard today was based on something that happened 2 days after the trial when Judge John Roach gave an interview. So we're going to be hearing completely new evidence in this motion for a new trial tomorrow. The administrative judge over North Texas, Ray Wheelis, will announce who that judge will preside, who will preside over that hearing will be any minute now. He's probably already made that decision. It just hasn't been announced yet. When that happens, we warning at 9 a.m. when supporters of Karmelo Anthony are expected to be out here, when the attorneys will be back in the courtroom, and the defense, the appeals attorneys, will be arguing for a new trial based on a whole new set of reasons. That's the story from here in Collin County. Live, I'm JD Miles, CBS News, Texas.
Well, that's a big update, JD. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And our Steve Pickett is also, he's just outside the Collin County Courthouse, where people are gathering and have been gathering to express their opinions about this ruling. Steve.
Yeah, thunderous support and thunderous applause. We heard, Karen, people poured out of this courthouse once, as JD reported, that decision was written.
There are a few places that a reporter can be that's dangerous. It's like in a war, like when they're like recording for, like, if there's a war going on, so they're like in a war zone. When they're reporting from when there's like a natural disaster, like a hurricane, tornado, earthquake, wildfires, things of that nature. And then it's outside the courtroom with Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf's trials.
Rendered in that courtroom, people who are here to voice their support for Karmelo Anthony and this legal process post-conviction, showcasing it here in this parking lot out here earlier today. To show you the images of so many people who were here earlier this morning, pre and post that hearing earlier this morning. Organized groups, literally dozens of them, were called to show support on this legal fight to appeal this conviction, essentially this sentence for Karmelo Anthony. But as you know, as JD mentioned, the focus today, this morning, was about the judge and should that judge be recused. Many expressing concerns that Anthony's actions were in self-defense when he stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf, but also arguing about this judge. The first of two parts of this post-conviction legal fight happened today, as JD mentioned. I spoke with one of Mr. Anthony's attorneys, Lee Merritt, who came here with this group post this hearing this morning. He is part of the new legal team, who shared with the teenager himself what Karmelo Anthony felt about this ruling this morning.
Karmelo was extremely relieved. He came into the courtroom today very timid, very exhausted, really. You can see that he had lost weight. He had hardened a bit. He had aged a bit in his time in jail. But to hear the community behind him, and then to hear an official proclamation from a judge that says, you know, what your family, what your community is seeking, they're going to be granted today, was a huge relief.
And again, that is part one of this process. Folks who had advocated against Judge Roach, claiming that his actions, his statements post that trial were inappropriate, getting that recusal today. The group who was here today, they were encouraged to be here tomorrow for part two. Reporting live, Steve Pickett, CBS News, Texas.
Yep. What Prince said, oh, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, I don't even think Black Lives Matter was out there, to be honest with you. Also, I want to say that it is Karmelo Karmelo
Denied our
Anthony's
motion to recuse.
it is Karmelo Anthony's right to file an appeal. I just think it makes it look bad, and I'm not on either one of these young men's side. Of course, I'm gonna feel more sad for the person that passed away and died, but this whole case was a joke. The way they played games with the public is ridiculous, man. So now we're looking at the timeline of everything that happened, what's happening right now. Of course, today we found out that his appeal was denied. As of right now, he will not begin a new trial. So Karmelo Anthony had hired a powerful new legal team led by civil rights and criminal defense attorney Russell Wilson. They were arguing that the original trial was heavily compromised by a shadow docket where major decisions were made off the record at an astonishing pace. The post-trial appeal hearings kicked off at 9 a.m. That was on Wednesday, August the 19th, 2026, of course, this year, in case anybody didn't know what year it is right now. Let's see. Oh, Prince said his attorney team is in it for the $500K give, send, go split. Yeah, man. His attorneys, all of them was like a waste of money, to be honest. So on August 19th, the defense focused entirely on removing Judge John Roach Jr. from the case. So of course he did that interview where he said he agreed with the he feels like he said, I think the jury got it right, and that's what they used for the appeal. Which I don't think he cares. Like I said, he's on his way out the door. He was already planning to leave to go into retirement. Because just 2 days after the June trial ended, Judge Roach did a television interview with a Dallas news station. When asked if the jury got it right by convicting Anthony, Judge Roach smiled and said, yeah, they did. Whatever they say, they got it right. The defense argued that a sitting judge cannot publicly declare a verdict right when he knows an appeal is actively being prepared. Visiting Judge Sid Harley agreed, ruling the Roach's impartiality could reasonably be questioned. Roach was officially recused. Outside the courthouse, dozens of Anthony's supporters erupted into cheers, crying, and chanting, "Free Karmelo," which we just saw on the video I just played. The next morning, Thursday, August the 20th, 2026, the battle shifted to part two. Retired senior district judge Michael Chitty took the bench to hear the 63-page motion for an entirely new trial. Anthony's original lead attorney, Mike Howard, took the stand as a witness. He testified under oath that he was absolutely shocked when prosecutors backed out of the agreement, leaving the defense strategy in total ruins and leaving a terrified 19-year-old boy unable to safely defend himself on the stand. And of course, he's referring back to when so they had a gentleman's agreement saying, hey, we're not going to use or bring up anything from these boys' past, horrible past, might I add. And when it came time for Anthony to get on the stand, the prosecutor said, well, hey, that agreement we had, that's not included if he hop his ass on that stand. And a lot of people argue that that is a devastating thing because a part of a self-defense plea, you kind of want to hear from the person that's saying this was self-defense. You want to hear them tell their story. The jury wants to get to know them. They want to see him on the stand. I'll watch a little bit of this video. I ain't gonna watch all this crap.
Have an esteemed panel here. Let's start with Todd Shapiro.
I don't know about esteemed. Okay, I appreciate the compliment.
You're here.
Thank you.
And you know law.
I'm here. I know law, and I'm sweating. So let's do it.
It is warm. It is warm. Longtime defense attorney.
Yes, sir.
We have crime and justice reporter Rebecca Lopez. Let's break the news first.
Yeah.
What happened today?
So,
Hayawasa, I agree with that one. I wish that we didn't even have to see these type of cases. It distracts us from watching the government. I can agree to that one.
Today, a visiting judge, or a judge that was appointed by the presiding judge, who is Judge Wheelis here in this area, basically appointed a new judge, Judge Sid Harrell, and he heard arguments from the defense on whether or not Judge Roach, the original judge in this case, should be removed, and he ruled yes, he should, and he removed him off this case.
Yo, Marcus. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Marcus. That was one of the things I would be afraid of. I think this whole appeal and getting a new trial would have been a Hail Mary shot anyway. You got 35 years, but who's to say you go back, you don't get life? That has happened before. Princess, if Mello would have thought about touching that stand, he would have got more than 35 years. Yeah, he would. Definitely.
This hearing lasted only an hour and 20 minutes. Your initial thoughts on the ruling?
Well, I'll be honest, I can't recall sitting in a recusal hearing and intently listening to what's presented. So one of my curiosities as an attorney was, what evidence are they going to present in this hearing? What, besides Roach being called to testify himself in the video, obviously, are there other witnesses, what exhibits? And that was answered in the courtroom. I mean, it was really a succinct, specific, pointed motion, and that was provided was enough to sway this judge and say, yes, Roach needs to be recused.
So Judge Roach is out, right? Let's talk about the rubric that the Judge Sid Harrell used to make that determination.
Right. So it was, I don't want to say confusing, but it was a legal point that he made, basically saying, y'all filed this motion for recusal and listed a number of different reasons. I'm going to rule on your recusal based on one point that was brought up, and that is that reasonable person standard from the outside looking in at the proceeding, whether or not things were done fairly and impartially and can continue to be fair and impartial. And he believed that Judge Roach's comments to a particular reporter here in Dallas on a particular date that is standing a foot from my left, that he asked the questions and then Roach gave answers that kind of tended to show that he's maybe made his mind up on the motion for new trial before it ever even happens. So I do think that a part of it from our judge today was an abundance of caution. The appeals process is a confusing thing as well. What's in front of the court right now was the recusal motion first, and now a motion for new trial over the next day or two. That does not include his quote unquote appeal. Okay, so this is not about his appeal. One of the things that this ruling did is take away the possibility of this being a point for appeal, saying that the judge denied our motion to recuse, Roach heard it, denied the motion for new trial, and now we're going to use that in our appeal to say, once again, this is another reason why this case should be overturned.
Well, one of the things that the defense attorneys were also trying to say is that he violated these canons, basically that governs what judges can do. And they felt that maybe he overstepped in what he was doing when he did the interview with Jobin, but also that he was biased. And basically, Judge Harrell said, I did not find that to be true.
Correct.
He just had a different measure about why he removed him.
Yeah, I understand what Judge Roach is doing. I think he ran an incredible trial. It was efficient. It was fair. There wasn't anything about any rulings of evidence coming in or going out that looked to be problematic. Judge Roach himself did not act in a way that would lend itself to say that he wasn't fair and impartial. It was the interview after the fact that is causing these issues. And the question becomes, if this case was still in his jurisdiction or pending in his court, especially the motion for new trial, which is heard by the trial judge, why didn't he just wait maybe a few more weeks until that was all settled and then be able to talk? I mean, we all know Judge Roach was on his way out, that this was his last big trial. But nobody likes to be turned over on appeal, and nobody likes to be the subject of, you did this wrong, even if he is retired. I know he's still going to sit as a visiting judge and things like that. And he's got a perfect record of never being overturned on appeal. So, was it a lapse in judgment on Roach's part to give the interview? I mean, who knows? But at the end of the day, it does not change the fundamental landscape of this case, which is tomorrow and the next day, they've got to prove why they think they deserve a new trial, regardless of who the judge is.
Let's talk about the evidence. The majority of the time was us listening to the interview we did. It's a 20-minute interview. And I asked you this question just a few minutes earlier before this, and that was it the act of doing the interview that probably led to this decision, or
All righty then. All righty then. I appreciate everybody that's still in the building. Don't forget to like and share. Bring more people into the room.
Good afternoon and live from Texas. This is the Will Cain Show. We begin with a Fox News alert.
All righty. We about to get into this next one. Jet Metcalf. This is the hardest thing I've had to endure coming. Well, of course, this is Fox News. I know some of y'all don't like Fox.
Good afternoon and live from Texas. This is the Will Cain Show. We begin with a Fox.
Woo. That boy got that hair laid, don't he? Got this. What is that? The swoop in the front? What do you spray on that to keep it like that?
Fox News alert. You're looking now at new courthouse sketches of Karmelo Anthony, who was in court today in an attempt to get a new murder trial. Anthony, of course, was convicted of murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf by stabbing him during a track meet in April 2025. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Today, a Texas judge ruled in favor of a defense motion to recuse trial judge John Roach from overseeing the appeals process. The defense has accused Judge Roach of not being impartial during the Anthony trial. They point to an interview he gave in June where Roach said he believed the trial was fair and defended the dismissal of 3 Black prospective jurors. The defense played the entire 18-minute interview for the courtroom, and that included this key moment.
Did the jury get it right?
Yeah, they did. You know why? Because they were picked based upon the law. They listened to the facts that happened here in this very courtroom, and they got a verdict. And so that's the process. And
retired District Judge Michael Chitty has now been assigned to preside over the appeal. Outside the courtroom, dozens of Karmelo supporters, including one man in a full Black Panther uniform. And minutes after the recusal, they broke out in loud cheers. Now all eyes turn.
And Prince, I mean, you said the best thing. OMG, the race car is getting worn out. The whole racism is getting worn out. Period. After finding out about these 2 young men, please, y'all, it's time for us all to stop fighting. It really, really is. These are not 2 good kids. They just were not. They were not 2 good kids. And to fight over them is ridiculous.
Turn to tomorrow when we could hear brand new facts and testimony that were not previously made public as Anthony's defense seeks a retrial. Joining me now, Austin's father, Jeff Metcalf, and criminal defense attorney Todd Shapiro, who was also inside that courtroom.
And I want to say this, though. Even though I'm saying they weren't 2 good kids, Austin Metcalf absolutely did not deserve to be stabbed. And I don't care about any excuse that people want to give when it comes to that. These were 2 young men in good shape. They were both athletes. They should have fought it out. That's what we did back in the day. We fought it out. Okay. We fought it out.
Today. Todd, Jeff, good to see you both. Thank you.
Good to see you again, Will.
Jeff, let's go inside the courtroom. How did you feel today when you heard that Judge Roach had been recused?
It really didn't faze me. It's just another part of the procedure. It's a normal step. It doesn't change the facts of the case. So to me, I don't care which judge presides over the proceedings because it doesn't change the facts.
But why, Todd? Why was Judge Roach recused?
Well, I think, Will, that the judge that was appointed to hear the motion to recuse felt like the interview itself may have given rise to an air of impropriety. It looks like he had already made a judgment. Judge was not going to be impartial throughout the appeals process. And I think in an abundance of caution, at least in my opinion, that the presiding judge decided Roach should be removed from the proceeding going forward because they didn't want another issue to come up on an appeal.
But based upon that 18-minute interview he gave to local news, wherein he said he
And love works. I get what you're saying. This country is built on race. Some of y'all just hate to admit it, literally off our ancestor back. I get that. Nobody's denying that, but we don't have to continue down that path. We could all just say, hey guys, let's step off the path and make one of our own. We don't have to. You know, we can go by what's right and what's wrong.
thought that the jury got it right. He said that, though, because he said he thought the jury based it upon the facts and the jury was properly selected. It did not sound like he was giving his opinion on the verdict, but rather on the process of the trial. So how does that make an impartial judge?
I will tell you, I tend to agree with you, but saying the phrase they got it right could absolutely lead someone to believe that he thinks that Karmelo got what he deserved. And the problem that happened here is it was 2 days after the appeal was filed. It was just days after the end of the trial. And he was still had jurisdictional control over the next steps in the trial. And by making those public comments, I believe that the presiding judge just thought it was too much and it would be best to move in a different direction.
Okay, Jeff says it doesn't matter because the facts don't change. First, one more as to what you saw unfold today. What did you think when you saw everybody celebrating, I believe in your words, like they won the Super Bowl?
I mean, they can celebrate. If they want to consider it a win for their side, that's okay. I mean, the conviction is what I'm most concerned with, not a recusal of a judge.
And you know that he can sit there with his he can sit there with his little
saying this. I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all was trying to portray. How about Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all was trying to portray. How about Watermelon Felon? How's that one strike you? I hope he enjoyed his first night in that cell last night.
So what do y'all think about Jeff's comments? Some people saying
name for Mello, okay?
This.
I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all was trying to portray. How about Watermelon Felon? How's that one strike you? I hope he enjoyed his first night in that cell last night.
So what do y'all think?
Yeah. So he can sit there calm and stuff, but the real who your son really was is came out in this hearing. And so people were wondering, like, where did Watermelon Felon come from? Because he acts so calm and stuff when he's in front of the camera, but that's just not really who he is or who his son was.
My main focus right now is the Austin Metcalf Foundation, and that's based on saving lives. And that's based on not having another parent be put in the position that I'm in or the Anthonys are put in. It hasn't been easy for either side. And the publicity that this case has generated is above normal. I mean, this is a nationwide, even some worldwide news in some places. But as far as what happened today, it's just one step in a long journey. And it doesn't really change the facts. There's no new evidence. It's just one step that says, okay, we're going to take this judge out and find a different judge.
Jeff, I've had several conversations together, gotten to know each other a little bit. I know that looking forward is a big part of where you want to be now, where your family wants to focus, the Austin Metcalf Foundation, honoring Austin's memory. But I also know that justice is important to you and that this case doesn't fade into the rearview mirror or come out with an unjust or unjust outcome. When you look to tomorrow and the potential for a new trial, what do you think about that? What could you hear tomorrow? What could, in your words, change the facts and change the outcome for Karmelo Anthony?
Well, I mean, that's a speculative answer. So, I mean, I don't deal with a lot of what ifs. I deal with a lot of what is. So what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is a decision if he gets a new trial or not. And we'll go from there. If he gets one, great. The facts are still the same. We had 35 witnesses. If we need to call 35, we will. He brought a knife to a track meet, not supposed to. Went to a tent where he didn't belong, was asked to leave over 15 times, got pushed in the shoulder and immediately stabbed someone in the chest and killed my son. That's it in a nutshell. We can try to paint it whatever color you want to paint it. It's not going to change the facts. No matter what judge is presiding, no matter what lawyer is presenting the case, the facts are the facts.
And to that point, Todd, then the defense is looking for a new trial based upon what I can ascertain is two reasons. They want more access to the courtroom, presumably for supporters of Karmelo Anthony, and they want more background information, as laid out in these hearings, on Austin and Karmelo. Is any of this enough to get a new trial? To Jeff's point, one thing that is clear is we have the facts.
We do have the facts, and I would assume that something explosive, a bombshell of some sort, has to be introduced from the defense standpoint to say, look, this would have made this trial patently different had it been in evidence. Whatever reason why it wasn't should be course corrected. And now let's go back to the trial court so it can all be fully presented, which seems like a strange argument considering 30 or 60 days ago, you had a judge, you had the lawyers, you had everybody prepared. So why was that evidence not brought up in the first trial? And it's got to be something substantial. It can't just be, I don't like the way that Roach, talked to me during the trial. That's not enough to get a new trial. There's got to be a structurally legal argument to be able to get a new trial. And then again, as Mr. Metcalf said, even if the judge does rule that there's a new trial, they still have to deal with the same facts. Still got to deal with the same evidence.
So, Jeff, I'll ask you this last question at the risk of being speculative once again, or asking you to be speculative. What would it mean for you and for your family if, in fact, there was a new trial granted, to go through all of this again?
Truthfully, Will, it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life. Just leaving my son. Just that alone. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to endure. And I will tell you, there's no pain that a parent, anyone. I don't know. I mean, I know there's nothing I could have done different. But when you send your kid to school, you expect them to come home alive. Mine didn't. So how do we prevent this? How do we keep this from happening again? And that's, once again, that's the main reason I started the Austin Metcalf Foundation, is to be able to educate about conflict resolution, de-escalation, impulse control, not only for young adults, even parents. Because in today's world, with the moral decay of society, I've said before, teachers' job is to teach you, English, math, geography, social studies. They're not there to teach you morals, values. That's your parents' job, and it starts at home. And that's the biggest thing I see in today's world. One, there's not as many fathers in the household, and that contributes, I think, because you're looking at a single family that has to work and try to maintain raising a child. But some of the parents and some of the children aren't equipped with the skill sets to handle these split-second decisions that can put you in prison for a long time or put you in the cemetery.
Well, Jeff, here's to hoping that you can focus on the Austin Metcalf Foundation going forward, and you don't have to relive this trial once again. We'll find out tomorrow. We'll begin the process of finding out tomorrow in the possible retrial of Karmelo Anthony. Jeff Metcalf.
I gotta say I do agree with him when it comes to that whole children and not knowing how to make split second decisions. And to be honest with you, man, I'm seeing a lot of adults that don't even know how to handle split second decisions, man. It's a weird world we in. I don't know if anybody's like, just really, really paying attention to the news and what's going on. People are angry. People are just violent. Just I don't know, unless they're just showing it to the news, showing us on the news more. I mean, I remember these were adults, and um there's this guy, um, he gets cut off in traffic. He doesn't like it. He rages. Um, the vehicle that cut him off was a white Tahoe. He gets angry. He says, "Oh hell no, they ain't gonna cut me off." He drives further down the interstate, finds the white Tahoe, shoots into the white Tahoe. Person has kids in the back seat, hits the kids. You see what I'm saying? Later on, they find out the Tahoe that he found wasn't even the Tahoe that cut him off. You know, our adults can't even control themselves. These children can't control themselves. So I don't know if it's the cost of living going up, people just having a hard time over the past year or two. Um, Absent fathers. I don't know. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. And I see what you're saying. Love works, but I don't know if he didn't have a fair trial. I mean, the facts are the facts. The witnesses said what the witnesses said. They didn't get the new trial. If it was all this unfair stuff going on, his lawyer surely did a poor job presenting it. I'm starting to feel like all of this is for money. I mean, the only thing that came out of this appeal was a bunch of embarrassing information about Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. That's the only thing that came out of this hearing. Let's see. Foot Flan says, "I'm tired of hearing about this shit. He killed the kid, take his ass to jail. Shut the fuck up about it." Yeah, man. All right, I'm about to jump ahead on these videos. All righty. Let me put it on stage. All right.
Prosecutors and the defense in this case presented their case using a motion for a new trial hearing to expose the violent backgrounds of both Anthony and Austin Metcalf.
JD Miles has been in the courtroom all day, and he joins us now live with the latest. JD, there is a lot to unpack here.
There was a private off-the-record agreement between attorneys for Karmelo Anthony and prosecutors to keep the sordid backgrounds of the killer and the victim out of the ear of the jury and the public, to focus solely on the murder trial and what happened under that tent at the Frisco High School track meet last year. But now there's in this motion for a new trial, the background reports are being released, and Defense is going first, releasing 20 pages now of Austin Metcalf's behavioral history. Karmelo Anthony was dressed in a suit and tie for this morning's hearing, which began with the defense arguing that efforts by the trial judge and prosecutors to combat threats and deal with disruptions actually prevented Anthony from getting an open and fair trial. But bombshell testimony came this afternoon from Anthony's trial attorney, Mike Howard, about Austin Metcalf's background report that was never presented to the jury. CBS News Texas has also learned new details about Austin Metcalf's background. Metcalf and his brother Hunter were once caught spray painting graffiti, including KKK Kill All Blacks and Heil Hitler, along with the N-word, and were sentenced to 12 months of juvenile probation. Records reveal they reportedly told authorities, "We did some dumb stuff. We did some vandalism." There are several documented instances of Austin using racial slurs in school, and in 2023, Austin was accused of bullying a black student in class. In 2018, while still in elementary school, Austin and his brother were accused of bullying and assaulting a female, which led to his arrest. During an argument in 2024 with another female student, Austin allegedly knocked her to the ground and punched her in the stomach. He was also kicked out of a football game and texted someone later, "I was about to beat the expletive out of those kids." At a previous track meet, when another student alerted Austin that someone not on their team, quote, "behind our bench was talking wild," Austin reportedly replied, "Kill that MF." During the 2023-2024 school year, he received in-school suspension twice. School disciplinary records from April 2022 to May 2024 reveal that Austin reportedly called a teacher the B word and used profanity. He told a school official that he couldn't control it and wasn't aware that it was coming out of his mouth. In 2024, on at least 5 occasions, Austin saw a counselor regarding his anger and rage during a football game. In 2021, he got banned from attending basketball games for a season after yelling profanity at a player. Metcalf also got suspended after he and another student were talking about bringing a gun to school the following day.
Well, we understand that prosecutors, meanwhile, they do have a 75-page character dossier on Karmelo Anthony, which they promised to present as well. That document shows that on the morning of the stabbing, Anthony sent out a text saying that he was, quote, low-key on the verge, and that his girlfriend went to their school principal.
You know what's so crazy though about like all the stuff we just heard about Austin Metcalf? I wonder did those so-called friends of his know about all this stuff? Because they said it was some black kids, some Hispanic kids. Did they know how he felt about them? I'm just wondering. And hearing this stuff, how do they feel about him now? If I could be a fly on the wall, I would pay good money to know how they feel after hearing the things from his past. Or did they know these things? And you know what's so crazy? Both of these young men are women beaters. You know, if you listen to the stories, they used to beating up girls. But for those who would defend Karmelo Anthony, unfortunately, regardless of his past, Austin Metcalf, you can't stab him in the chest. So that's the only thing. It's not really a good defense. But I think what some people are wondering is if the jury would have knew these things about Austin Metcalf, and this is why I think that his defense did a terrible job. I would have never made I don't know if I would have made a gentleman's agreement. Like when I'm thinking about things, because I could say Karmelo Anthony comes from a troubled background. He needs help. He stabbed this young man. We throw ourselves on the mercy of the court. Cool. You know what I mean? And I could get his numbers down. He's a troubled kid. Yes, he has some problems. Parents were seeking to get him help. Cool. I think it would have benefited them if, and it's going to sound fucked up, but I've heard lawyers say this. Sometimes you'll have a victim and it's not a sympathetic victim. It's it's somebody that people don't really feel bad for. And I think that if these things could have been presented in front of a jury, maybe that would have helped Karmelo. I don't know why his defense team thought it was a good idea to hide these things. It wouldn't excuse them for stabbing him, but I think it would have helped around sentencing.
Hey. Well, we understand that prosecutors, meanwhile, they do have a 75-page character dossier on Karmelo Anthony, which they promised to present as well. That document shows that on the morning of the stabbing, Anthony sent out a text saying that he was, quote, low-key on the verge, and that his girlfriend went to their school principal to complain that he had been stalking her because she broke up with him. Of course, we'll keep you posted on all of those developments, and we will continue to follow this hearing very closely. For updates, stay with CBS News Texas on air and online at CBS.
Yeah. Yeah, it was too much. Shout out to Prince Petty says Austin wasn't shit. Cool. Doesn't mean Melo gets off or gets a new trial. Agreed, brother. Agreed.
Wrong with you?
Alrighty. I'm trying to get into all right.
About what's going on inside the courtroom, and the big issue so far. Well, Shannon, like you said, we have Alex Boyer, who's inside, giving us these real-time updates about what's going on inside the courtroom. And the big issue so far this morning is the gentleman's agreement that came out after the trial that kept details about both Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony out of the trial. Prosecutors said this morning that Austin Metcalf did have an incident as a juvenile involving racially charged graffiti. And on the other side, Anthony's ex-girlfriend went to an assistant principal the morning of the stabbing to say that she was worried that Anthony was stalking her. There were text messages not presented in the trial to his ex-girlfriend where he said he was low-key on the verge. Prosecutor Bill Werski said that he was spiraling. Karmelo Anthony was brought into the courtroom at around 9:20 this morning wearing a suit and tie. His hands were shackled. He glanced at his parents as he walked to his seat. Anthony's defense team asked Judge Michael Chitty if Anthony could be unshackled, and the judge said that he was fine with that. Judge Chitty came out of retirement to preside over this hearing, introduced himself, saying that he has 22 years of experience. Anthony's attorney, Russell Wilson, said that he has 40 exhibits to be admitted into evidence for this hearing. He said that they will show that Judge Roach ran a shadow docket that was not public at all. Prosecutors argued that the paper file was in the interest of having a safe trial and to protect both witnesses and Anthony. During the trial, the defense argued that Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf in self-defense. Prosecutors argued that in Texas, a person commits murder if he intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits an act that is clearly dangerous to human life. Anthony's defense argued that Anthony was justified to use force because he felt that it was immediately necessary. This hearing is likely going to continue into tomorrow. The defense has 12 witnesses, but they may not all be here in person. Shannon and Lauren.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you for that quick briefing. Appreciate it, Lori. We're going to bring in former federal criminal prosecutor John Helms, a criminal defense attorney here in Dallas, also, so he can really kind of look at both sides and also specializes in appeals. I'm curious, how often do Texas murder convictions get overturned on an appeal? Like, what are the odds that this would happen?
The odds are not great for Karmelo Anthony that he's going to get relief from the Court of Appeals. I say that just based on the numbers, not based on the merits of any appeals. But it's most appeals result in the trial court being upheld.
In your experience, what is the key to actually getting an appeal and being successful there?
You have to, first of all, identify good issues. A lot of people don't know that in an appeal, you're not asking for a second opinion from the Court of Appeals. You have to identify some sort of legal error that occurred in the trial court. you can't just ask them, well, what do you think should have happened? Because they will defer to the jury's verdict unless there's some sort of legal error. So it's not just a second opinion.
Okay, legal error. So we're hearing this morning a lot about these gentlemen's agreements that were done in the court. They're basically what that is. It's when the lawyers, the attorneys on both sides kind of talk. The judge, who's in this gentleman's agreement, and why does that keep getting brought up, and is that legal?
Okay, first of all, it's legal. I mean, you can do it. There's a significant question of whether it's enforceable. I mean, a gentleman's agreement is like it sounds like we might have in everyday life.
Like a handshake.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, I'll do that. You do that.
Right.
Okay, you do that. All right.
I trust you, you trust me.
Right. Okay.
In this case, there was discussion about it with the judge in chambers, but it was not on the record. And in this,
And that's important to note what he said about it not being enforceable, because that's why when Karmelo goes to get on the stand, the prosecutor reneges and says, hey, he better not get on that stand or else I'm going to bring up this other stuff. And because it's not enforceable, the defense has to go, oh, damn. And they just have to bite it because it's not enforceable. There's nothing on paper where it's enforceable where he can go to the judge and say, hey, he's breaking our agreement. And then if he continues to break that agreement, you can then go to the appeals court and say, hey, he broke our agreement. So that's an important thing to note.
case, as I understand it, there's a disagreement over what exactly the gentleman's agreement covered. And so that's going to be difficult for Karmelo Anthony's defense to overcome, I think, because if there's not anything specific on the record, it'll be hard to enforce. And it may be hard to show exactly what the scope of it was, since the state apparently disagrees with what the defense says.
You know, there was a hearing yesterday focused on the judge in this case because the defense team, Karmelo Anthony's team, did not want the same judge overseeing, you know, these hearings and a possible appeal. So Judge John Roach ultimately was recused. They're brought in a different judge, Judge Michael Chitty, who has 20 years experience in Kaufman County and came out of retirement for the case. Were you surprised to see this yesterday and that they did dismiss the judge?
I wasn't all that surprised. I mean, look, recusal motions usually fail. So just odds were that this was not going to succeed. But I read the motion to recuse, and I read the transcript of the interview that Judge Roach did. And I think it was the right decision because the argument is there are these post-trial motions after the verdict in the case, where you're asking a judge to grant a new trial. As lawyers, we know that rarely happens. But at the same time, you do have the right to a judge who will look at it fairly and impartially. So,
shout out Kiwi says, was Austin actively trying to assault Karmelo at the time of the stabbing? The witnesses say that he shoved him. And in Texas law, they have stand your ground. You can claim self-defense, but the force that you use must be equal to. And so what their argument is that he didn't have a right to use deadly force because of a push. And you had a lot of people arguing the size difference between Karmelo and Austin Metcalf. You had also a lot of people arguing that Karmelo was outnumbered. But the problem is when Austin Metcalf shoved, pushed him in the shoulder, he immediately stabbed him. He didn't wait to get punched. He didn't wait to get stumped out. He didn't wait to get jumped or anything. So it's like he had no proof that he was getting jumped or anything. And even when Karmelo Anthony was being arrested, his words were, I told him not to touch me. He put his hands on me. He. And so when you had like all those other people talking about, oh, they were jumping him. How? He never brought up anybody else. It was only him. He. One person. Just from a push. Stab. and that's it. And so, it was deadly force just from a push, not even a punch in the face, you know? So, yeah, Kiwi, definitely. That is just a hard thing to argue. It really, really is. So technically it wasn't even a fight. A fight never happened.
And it's not just, the law doesn't say you decide whether the judge can be fair. You actually look at whether a reasonable, objective third party, third person considering it would think that there was a question about fairness. So it was actually a kind of a conservative decision to remove Judge Roach from the post-trial motions, the motion for a new trial in particular.
Do we know if they like this new judge, that both sides like this new judge, or that doesn't matter?
Well, I mean, they don't get to choose.
Right.
So they don't really have a say if they don't.
Also, and shout out to Prince of Petty, also Kiwi, Prince of Petty, wrote in the chat, don't forget reaching in his bag and saying, touch me and see what happens. That's considered, intentional. Also and it can be included in, provocation. So while saying something doesn't give a person a right to hit you, it can also take away your claim of self-defense, saying like, well, you provoked the person, meaning you like people were saying Karmelo was saying things like I'll beat you up, saying certain things like that, or when he says touch me and see what happens, right? And then you have Austin Metcalf saying, I'm not going to fight you, bro. You're looking at, they can look at Carmelo's statements and say, well, he was clearly being aggressive before he's ever touched. And so then to come back after that and say, oh, well, self-defense, ain't. It's like, huh? You know? Huh? It's just a hard argument. And that's why, like, when we was growing up, like, if you old school, they say we don't do no talking. You don't say anything. What you say can and will be used against you. You're doing too much talking and you just stab somebody because what, they shoved you in the shoulder? If the boy was going to beat you up, he's not just going to shove you in the shoulder. It would have been a shove in the shoulder, a swing, something like that would have been reported. No, it's just like, hey, man, get out of here, bro. And, and a shove in the shoulder. And I think that's a ridiculous reason, because it's something that's in my mind. And, I don't know how other people think about this, but in my mind, a shove in the shoulder is not a threat to any young man that plays sports. Okay? We get hit, we get shoved, we get slammed, all kind of stuff, They're both athletes. So a shove in the shoulder is like come on, that's silly.
Everything I know about Judge Chitty is that he's just very fair and very well respected. I'm sure Karmelo Anthony's defense would prefer him to Judge Roach, who has, said that he thought that the verdict was correct and that the trial was fair. Not surprising statements from a judge, but
who likely feels like his jury did what the jury was supposed to do and followed the law.
Absolutely.
Which is what you would hope any judge would say when they finish a court case.
Sure. I mean, every judge is going to have an opinion about whether the jury got it right. Every judge is going to have an opinion about whether they made an error, and probably they'll think that they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So inside their head, they almost certainly form those opinions.
Mm.
But it's the public's perception that kind of matters here. You want it to appear fair. So as long as the judge keeps his opinions to himself or herself, then that's okay. But you just can't go out and say those things, which creates a question of potential fairness for the post-trial motions.
Okay. We heard from the Collin County Assistant District Attorney. He gave his opening statements. He talked about the fact that everything we did in that trial, Karmelo Anthony's attorneys agreed to. So everything that was done, whether it be releasing some jurors, whether it be putting Karmelo Anthony on the stand or not. Like everything was agreed to. So what is going to be, in your opinion, maybe the sticking point that will get them, if sure enough there is an appeal and another trial granted, where do you think it would be where a judge in this case would say, yes, let's do another trial? Is there some area where you've seen where you're like, that could be the sticking point?
Well, in the motion for a new trial, I didn't see anything that suggested to me that it's going to be granted.
Got it.
Now, it's
You said Kiwi says, wait, is the court trying to cover up this mess or backtrack on decision? Nah, I think the defense is trying to backtrack on their gentleman's agreement. They made a decision. The prosecution and defense made a decision to leave out of the trial. They wanted to leave out Austin Metcalf's past. He has some racial stuff in his past. Him assaulting, trying to attack a teacher. Well, he definitely did verbally, had an incident with a teacher, an incident with a girl, and Karmelo Anthony has some stuff in his past with they both had things in their past where they were talking about bringing weapons to school, fantasizing about hurting people. These were two troubled young men, and the prosecution and the defense side came together and had a gentleman's agreement where they said, hey, we're going to agree not to bring these things up in trial. And we're only going to deal with what happened that day between these two young men. Now, there comes a point in time, especially if you're going to claim self-defense, where they're going to ask you, are you going to get up on the stand? In self-defense cases, a lot of people get on that stand because when you claim self-defense, the jury wants to hear from you. They want to get to know you. The defense is what's his last name? Howard, Karmelo Anthony's lawyer, said that that when it came time for that, the prosecutor was saying that he was going to, in cross-examination, basically flake on the gentleman's agreement and bring up Karmelo's history, which Karmelo's girlfriend is saying that before the stabbing, she went to a school official and reported that Karmelo was stalking her or having stalker-like behaviors, wouldn't allow her to break up with him, text messages and things of that nature. And knowing that Karmelo would be cross-examined and those things would come out, Karmelo didn't take the stand. And so, the defense is bringing these things up, but it doesn't make Karmelo look good. And my thing is this: you can't punish Austin Metcalf. He's passed away. He's the victim. He's the person that is dead. And I don't know if those things would have helped Karmelo in trial or not. It could have helped him if you have a jury that doesn't look at him as like an innocent victim. You know what I mean? But then it could have hurt him because you have other juries that if you badmouth or talk bad about a person that's died, they don't look on you favorably. And it could have got Karmelo Anthony even more time had his defense team used that in trial. Because it could have showed, we don't see where you have any remorse. You coming in here talking crap about somebody that died, so it could have went either way. Honestly, I think them not bringing up the past in the trial made it, to me, more fair and more clear because people didn't have to consider their past. They could have dealt with that day and what's right and what's wrong in that day, regardless of their past. Because think about it like this. Let's say we didn't know that Karmelo stabbed Austin Metcalf. Would we want them to use his past as a look, he had to have stabbed Austin Metcalf. Look at his past. He has a troubled past. That means he's a killer. So for me personally, I think it was right to not include their past. Because of your past does not mean you deserve to die. Because of your past does not mean you are a murderer. So I'm glad they didn't use it and they stuck to what happened that day. Was it legal or illegal? Was it right or wrong? Kiwi said, what's the conclusion of the new trial likely to be? Well, no, there's not going to be a new trial. They already denied it. We're just going over everything that has happened so far today, but they already denied it. They made the decision today. So today they made a decision to deny his appeal for a new trial.
It's going to be different when they raise these issues in the Court of Appeals. Again, I think these issues are probably going to be tough issues for the defense to win on appeal. But in general, when you're appealing, you have to have made some sort of an objection in the trial court to let the judge know that this is a potential issue so that the judge has a chance to rule on it.
Okay.
So if something was agreed, then it's extremely unlikely that that Karmelo Anthony's defense would be able to win on an issue that was agreed to.
And that's another thing. And people had been talking about it too. Like when he said objection, his lawyer didn't object to things. And if you don't object to something in trial, you cannot take it to appeals and use it because you didn't object. So that means you agreed to it. And anything that he agreed to behind closed doors. So your lawyer cannot agree to all these things. Then in trial, no objections. Nothing at all. So he went to appeal for what? He went there with no ammo. The only thing they did was go to appeals and embarrass these two young men and their families. That's all. I mean, this appeal, it was oh my God, it was embarrassing.
There's a very, very narrow exception where it's obvious to anyone.
You right, Prince. They denied it fast as hell. Like when it comes to this situation, Texas wasn't playing. The court case, like the trial was fast as hell. They've been working. Is it normal for them to work on the weekends? They be working on the weekends to get this stuff over and done with.
One, that this would be an error, but I'm pretty sure there's not going to be anything like that.
Yeah. If
What?
Well, we do have an update today. The trial judge for Karmelo Anthony was removed as the North Texas teen seeks a new murder trial. Big headlines today.
We already watched one of those videos.
A few hours from now, Karmelo Anthony's attorneys will be back in court fighting for a new trial.
Anthony was convicted of murdering Austin Metcalf at a Frisco track meet last year. Our Janelle Fort is live for us.
Let's see. Kiwi said, I'm just hearing of this story now, and wow, this is absurd. What were his lawyers thinking? Oh, you just now hearing of this story? It's been like a big deal. I think right now it's been overshadowed by the whole Nolan Wells situation out of Mississippi. Prince says, oh, that's why I was telling Love Works. Don't be stupid in Texas. They not playing games with people. Yeah, they're not. I see what Love Works was saying though. Like I'm not gonna, I see what Love Works was saying. I really, really do. All right. Hopefully I can play this. I was gonna play a little bit of his parents. Hold Hopefully Willie D don't get mad. Shout out to Willie D. I have to be careful because his parents be going on platforms that sometimes don't want you to use their content. Like they went on the Breakfast Club. I was like, oh my God.
We just wrapped up the first day for the motion for a new trial. So how do you think it went?
This after the first day.
Yeah.
Everything we've noticed a lot of things about the boys that wasn't sent out to the public. You agree? Mm-hmm. Based on what was told, the narrative, it hurt us, man. It just made us. It's right now. I'm still. It was so much at that time.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my bad, it glitched.
Made us. It's right now. I'm still. It was so much at that time.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Damn, the dude had a penchant for fighting, for violence.
Yes.
Very, very.
Never
violent.
put out there.
Yeah, like smacking on his friends or so-called friends, smacking on
wordings he was using,
choking his own mama.
Yeah, that threw me off. I mean, your mama. I said, man, you got to be different.
Threatening to slap his dad and he don't do nothing. And, this kid right here.
Prince, he said no shout out to Willie D. Picks any fake or random news and report on it. He's the most pro-black with lies I've ever seen. He is extremely pro-black. I mean, he really is exhausting sometimes, man. His take on things. Kiwi says, what's the Karmelo supporters reaction to the trial? Denial that. Oh, I might have saved it, man. I saved a bunch of videos. It's kind of crazy them sitting here acting like they so shocked about the things with Austin Metcalf, and it's like, are they forgetting that this is trial day 1. So this is before the prosecutor released the information on Karmelo Anthony, but they're acting so shocked as if they didn't know all this stuff. They knew all this stuff. They have no room to judge anybody or any other kid because Karmelo Anthony had his own issues too. So I don't know why they're acting so shocked. They're still keeping their front up.
Yeah, like he was a real problem. When I heard all of that stuff, I'm talking about a treasure trove of incidents captured on his phone. It ain't like this is not third-hand knowledge. This is him recording himself in most cases or passing along text messages.
Yes, and it was very shocking. Like I said, right now, it's so much to take in because it's like, man, what? Yeah. I mean, somebody to do that, and how that picture was painted, like it was the perfect angel. I'm just still, like I said, I'm going to shock this to mama.
Yeah.
And you took your mama.
Yeah. Kayla, how hard was it to hear them in there talking, the prosecutor, Worski, speaking publicly about your son, saying things that you know that are not true?
It was very hard. It was very hard.
Yeah.
It was very hard.
Yeah. And as a father, I saw your reaction many, many times. And it was like you wanted to say something. How hard was it not to say something?
Man, it's hard, man. God is real. That's what I can tell you, man. It was hard.
Yeah.
All right, I don't want Willie D to flag me, man. So I'm gonna move on. Prince says they know it all. That's why I'm not surprised Willie D is talking to him. He finds things to talk about and makes it racial. He do, man. I don't know what is up with his Karmelo Anthony's parents. They're like still lying.
We're gonna start.
And I'm like, y'all both painted y'all kids to be angels. Y'all talked about him, Karmelo being a hero and saving a life. Y'all all did the same thing. Y'all played with the American public is what y'all did. All of you participated in that.
With the latest on Karmelo Anthony's appeal. He is serving 35 years on a murder conviction for stabbing Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet in Frisco. But Anthony's attorneys are asking for a new trial. Senior crime and justice reporter Rebecca Lopez just came out of the Collin County courtroom where she's been all day. Rebecca, can you tell us about this new information about Karmelo Anthony that defense attorneys wanted to exclude?
Yes, Chris, there was both information about Karmelo Anthony, but also about the Metcalf twins. There was information today that defense attorneys said points to the fact that the Metcalf brothers had incidents of racial incidents, and they also had some questionable background information. That also Karmelo Anthony had some character issues in his background, and both prosecutors and defense attorneys were trying to keep all of this out of the initial trial. Anthony's lead attorney, Mike Howard, was on the stand most of the afternoon to explain why he and co-counsel Toby Shook made an agreement with prosecutors to keep that information about character and background of both the Metcalf twins and Karmelo Anthony out of the trial. Howard testified that the defense learned that there were more than 53 incidents that they could document involving Austin and Hunter Metcalf, in which they were accused of fighting, assaulting other students, and using racial slurs against Black students. He also testified that in a couple of cases, they were accused of assaulting young women, and that multiple teachers accused the twins of calling them derogatory names. Howard says some of those incidents went back years, and he says in his view, it showed a history and a pattern of violence and aggressive behavior on the behalf of the Metcalf twins. Chris.
And Rebecca, I think a lot of people hearing this play out now will wonder why did none of this come out during the trial?
Well, Chris, there was this gentleman's agreement during the trial where they both said that they agreed that they were not going to bring these character issues up, that they were going to leave them out. But then at the last minute, Bill Wertsky, according to defense attorneys, decided that he was going to cross-examine Karmelo Anthony, and he was going to bring up some of these incidents in cross-examination. So apparently there was a big shouting match, according to testimony today, between both parties, prosecutors and defense attorneys. And now his attorneys, his new attorneys, want to ask this new judge that just got appointed to give Karmelo Anthony a new trial, saying that there are some serious legal issues with his first trial. And also, we're supposed to also hear testimony that Bill Wertsky says shows that there are some character issues involving Karmelo Anthony. According to him, on the day that Austin Metcalf was killed, Karmelo Anthony's ex-girlfriend went to an assistant principal and told that principal that she was afraid that he had been stalking her after they broke up, and that he was obsessed with guns, knives, and fights. And so, again, Bill Wertsky says he plans to bring it up when it's his turn. So it's just a lot going on in this trial right now, Chris.
Yeah, a very playing out very differently than the actual murder trial itself. Rebecca, thank you very much for.
And you correct, Prince. I remember watching Willie D's videos at the time. This is why you gotta be careful when you clicking on these people's YouTube pages, man. Seeking information from them, because I'm a person that knows, I know of Willie D, and so of course I didn't, think nothing of it. I was like, oh, that's Willie D. I'll listen to his YouTube channel and get my information from him. And he was one of those ones that kept saying, yeah, Karmelo Anthony was jumped. He just kept saying it. No proof, nothing at all. He just kept saying it. All right. And like you said, Prince, when that video dropped, dead silence. Silence.
Streaming special we have here.
It was like Martin, who remember the Martin show? He's like, with the dojo dude, was like, silence. Silence.
Here on WFA on the Karmelo Anthony appeal. Judge is hearing now for the first time the motion for a new trial in June. A jury convicted Karmelo Anthony. He was sentenced by a jury, 35 years in prison. We have a lot to talk about here. My name is Jobin Paniker. I'm a reporter at WFAA. I've been covering Collin County. We have We have Keith Harris here, longtime defense attorney, Rebecca Lopez, crime and justice reporter. I know there's a lot to talk about, and a lot of it happened in the last 3 to 4 hours, but there has to be some semblance of structure. So we'll start with the opening arguments. In that opening arguments, we saw 2 different methods from both attorneys, Bill Wersky for the state and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, very
Oh my God. Hold on. I'm trying to find a shorter video because I don't want to go through 30 minutes. Where is it at? Because I wanted to hear them talk about. Oh, Prince, I got a video of your favorite guy, man. I got a video. I got a video of your favorite guy up here, man.
Short. Of course, we previously put out that there were going to be 2 days of a hearing, in only Wednesday and Thursday. Of course, we are going to have a 3rd day of hearings. The attorneys believe that it will be commenced tomorrow, but of course, you know, there was a number of alternative events that happened today that is going to make this hearing.
Yeah, of course. That's him, the baby beater. The baby beater. And that's not even allegedly, it's not even making it up. He was convicted of beating his girlfriend's child. Baby, to be exact. So that ain't even something I'm being funny making up. He actually did that.
And even much longer. I hope that everyone continue to join on Friday. It is very important that you be here to continue to stand stand up and stand for the truth of Karmelo Anthony. I'm not going to go back and forward with all of the things that the people and the public heard today through the media, through many. As an advocate and the president of the next generation.
What the hell? Is that me or is that them?
Media through many.
Oh, that ain't me. That's the video that's doing it.
As an advocate and the president of the Next Generation Action Network, I've had to hold in for over a year. I've had to look at people say my name and say different things while at the same time protecting the case at hand. And my first responsibility was always to Karmelo Sincere Anthony. From the beginning of this case, I said that this case could not be won in a court of public opinion, but inside of a courtroom. And I stayed committed towards making sure that the facts were displayed in the courtroom. Many of us could have held the press conference a year ago, 2 years, a year and a half ago, and said many of.
He's not even a lawyer, so I don't even know why he said he stayed committed to making sure the facts were presented. What is he talking about? He presented what? Right, Prince. He can't be taken seriously by anyone with a brain. He's a convicted criminal and child beater. Next Generation Action Network, while he beats the literal next generation. That's wild work. Exactly. And he loves to name drop his organization like in every video. It shows you why he's there. He's only there to attach himself to this trial. It's a big trial, and it looks good for him to be the spokesperson for the family. He's not a lawyer for the family. He's a spokesperson for the family. And I don't even know if they're still asking him to show up and speak for them, or if he just shows up and people know who he is, and they just put a camera on him.
Those things. But that wasn't going to help Karmelo Anthony. It had to be played out in the courtroom. I have beside me attorney Shandaria, and I want to just shout out to this amazing legal team. The work that they are doing is amazing. The coalition of attorneys. I can't speak for them. I don't want to indulge into the criminal case too far. But what I want people to know is follow the facts. It's been displayed. Everything that was said in court today.
You know what? And he is the worst kind of spokesman to have. He really, really is. And he thinks that he can kind of make himself look like Martin Luther King and talk like him, and we'll just believe what comes out of his mouth. I don't know if he realizes we don't believe him, we don't trust him.
In the facts against Austin and Hunter, it's not some alleged. It's factual. It was submitted to court. It was there during the beginning of the trial. It was accepted by Judge Roach as a factual document. The evidence. There are a number of documents supporting all of that, videos, all of those things. We knew that before June. I cannot speak to the fact of why it wasn't displayed in that trial. At the end of the day, the only person that can speak to that is Mike Howard and Toby Shook, right? And at the end of the day, I'm not going to justify the actions. I'm just going to say that the Next Generation Action Network and
Hey, but you know what? That makes sense. If anybody remembers when they did the press conference where the father showed up and they removed the father from the press conference, remember um this guy right here, Alexander, um he um he made some very subliminal comments towards the father where he said there's some things I could say, but I'm not going to say them, when he got upset with the father. So they all knew about this and just kept up this whole facade on both sides. Both parties did it.
these coalition of attorneys stay committed towards making sure that the facts are here regarding this case. You heard it displayed today. And I ask that everyone join us tomorrow as we continue a third day of this long journey of being able to fight for a new trial for Karmelo Sincere Anthony. Anything else, I'll open it for just brief questions, but I ain't gonna take too many. Can't answer that. I can't speak for attorneys' legal matters. Any other questions?
I can't even hear what questions they're asking. Shout out to Ann says these donation hustlers not here for the criminal part, just the 501c3. Everybody working together to distract the masses all the time. I agree with that. Definitely.
Correct. I've always disagreed with him on that approach. At the end of the day, you cannot, it's crazy how, and I say this respectfully, but I really don't care what no one think of it. Telling black folks to turn the temperature down when we're getting discriminated against is just problematic. And it shows that we have not gotten anywhere when it comes to race relations in this country. We deal with this type of racism and yet bigotry that continue to be displayed in America, right? And so telling us to let's pipe the temperature down when we're only responding to it. It's kind of this term that has been created, right? I don't know.
Oh my God. I had glitch. Basically, the reporter asked him if he agreed with the decision to not divulge the past of Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony, to turn the temperature down on the case. It really was pointless because it didn't turn the temperature down at all. People were still outside the courtroom fighting, calling each other names. Some people, a few, getting arrested. So it didn't really work.
Down when we're only responding to it. It's this term of race baiting that has been created, right? I don't know about the race, but I feel like the bait, right? And so the reality is what we saw in the evidence today was years worse of racism and bigotry, right? And that's displayed and it speaks for itself. And I don't want to characterize on it, but in regards to their approach to the case, I did not agree with it. Anything? information came to light about the Metcalf brothers, but also about Karmelo Anthony. Could that have hurt his case? If they did not make the agreement and that I don't want to respond to that in regards to, because that goes dive into the case. But I think that everything in this trial should have been displayed. That's right. And
And says, even Ben Crump, he's a civil rights lawyer. Like, what the F are you people down there for? Of your not helping any causes. These idiots didn't advise that dad to get a real lawyer. His parents has lit him and stole his donations money. I think they benefit off of when things go bad, to be honest with you. They'll help you get some money in the end. But think about it. You only get money when something, like when you've been wrong. So I think it works out in their favor if things kind of go sideways or bad for you. And so I would always be weary of somebody that benefits if only if something bad happens to me, that, and they can prove it and show it and get the money. But yeah, I don't know who they was listening to be honest with you. I don't think they had I think honestly they just did not have a good strategy. They should have seen if they can get if they could have got Rick Child lawyer. He had a phenomenal lawyer and defense strategy.
and I think that
And Rick Child's the Asian guy that had shot the kid in the back, that they thought stole something out the gas station, and the gun had fell out of his pocket. And says he needed these lawyers and help before the conviction. It's an uphill road now. Yeah. If he could have had the legal team that he has had during this, and I know people are going to say, well, the appeal was denied, but it's a tough thing to get a ruling like that overturned. And I think it's even harder when you got such a high profile case, and I think it was a Hail Mary shot anyway, because what if he would have got a new trial? And what if he would have got convicted again, but this time he don't get 35 years, he get even longer. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah, Prince. Yeah, he had an amazing lawyer. And here's another thing that I think about, and I want to look it up and see. Well, I kind of typed it in the AI, but who knows if AI gives you the right answer. But I had typed in the AI. I said, if Carmelo Anthony loses his appeal, but given all the information that has been exposed in his appeal, remember in his 35-year sentence, people were upset because he gets to appeal. It's either after 8 or 10 years. He goes up. I mean, he gets to for parole. He can go up for parole in 8 or 10 years, one of those, right? And people were upset because they was like, how the hell he get a chance to get out after such little time? People were upset about that. And I asked AI, I said, could that be used against him? So now, because of this appeal, all this new information has been introduced that, remember, when they made that gentleman's agreement, it was off the record. So it wasn't on paper. It's not included in the documents. But now that they've done this appeal, and the prosecution side and the defense side have decided to have a food fight, so to speak, and throw dirt on each other, now that's in the paperwork. So now when he goes up for parole or tries to get early release, they're now looking at all this paperwork that now includes all of these other facts. What the girlfriend say, stalking the girlfriend. He want to stab somebody, lick the blood off the knife. Oh, I'm on the verge. I want to, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I was like, this is crazy. I don't know if this was the right approach. Really don't. And says, yep, because judges are fast, or they're not they're not fast to overturn another judge rulings. That's very true. They even like that. Remember, you got people that they prove with facts that they're innocent, and they take time to they take a long time to release innocent people. And says, I think 17. Oh, you think it's maybe after 17 years he can go up for parole? It might be that. It might be. Ann says, when you say new information, do you mean the evidence, or is it just more evidence to support something that was already introduced? I'm talking about them introducing in the things about Karmelo where his girlfriend says that hours before he stabbed Austin Metcalf, she went to a vice principal or some school official and reported that Karmelo was stalking her and not allowing her to break up with him. And so I was wondering, if you're introducing all these other things from his past, now it's on paper because they had the appeal. I wonder, will it affect him when he goes before a parole board? I'm worried about that now. Like, damn, is that going to affect him? Let's see. Oh, Prince says that's going to hurt him upon parole hearing. Yeah, that's what I think too. And I think that's something now, because mind you, Austin Metcalf's father also gets to show up to the parole hearings. And he gets to now stand up and talk about something that was once agreed. We're going to keep this out of the public eye. But now that it's been introduced, he now gets to stand up in the parole hearing saying he can say whatever he wants to say. It's a parole hearing. He's not bound by the trial or the rules of court when it's a trial. He gets to read his letter, say whatever he want to say. Yeah. Shout out Ann says, yeah, I didn't hear about his girlfriend evidence. Yeah, that's something nobody knew, but it just recently all this stuff came out because of this appeal hearing.
That the jury was owed everything to come to the facts, right? And I want to say this real quick because and I don't speak for the attorneys of this, there was a characterization of 75 pages, right? I've been able to see those things. And if you take a screenshot on 75 page and you put that on the one page and you make all of those things about 50 some documents, it becomes a long document, right? At the end of the day, what you have is more than 30 or 50 full pages of things against Austin and Hunter Metcalf, right? And I ask that when everything comes to light, that people really know the facts about what this case is. Thank y'all, man. I'm going to end it right here. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You heard that? Say his name. Karmelo. What's his name? Karmelo. Say his name. Karmelo. What's his name? Karmelo. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Say his name. Karmelo. What's his name? Karmelo. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. 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 Say his name. Karmelo. What's his name? Karmelo. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. When do we need it? Now. When do we need it? Now.
And with they're not even helping him. Don't bring in new evidence unless you get a new trial. Geez, did these lawyers get their degrees online? I think most of the people that was helping Karmelo Anthony went to one of those diploma mills where they just, you pay and they just pretend like you went to class and they just give you a diploma. And Ann says these people will not help him. In the end, they just making noise. I think they is. It's been this whole, what's that, song and dance pony show is really what it's been. I'm gonna tell you like this, and people have got mad at me. They get mad at me because I'm black and they say, oh, you're a sellout. I'm telling you, look, when you have and I watch a lot of true crime, and one thing that I've noticed for people because some crimes is a who done it. They don't know who did it. They got to prove it was you. When you have a situation where it's not a who done it and they know it was you, you have to be careful with how you proceed. And you got to have a good defense strategy where it's like you're going to get your punishment. But how do you get the best possible outcome even when you got to get a punishment? And I think this boils down to um his defense strategy. Anybody who thinks that they were going to allow that boy to stab that boy in the chest and kill him and just walk away scot-free, no intelligence. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. No intelligence at all. If you think you can stab somebody and kill them but push you on the shoulder, no. It's like weird that people are making that argument. Princess Ninja's chatting for nothing and didn't shut down anything. I'm laughing, y'all, because y'all don't know Prince's voice, but I know his voice. I can imagine him what he just everything he's saying. I can imagine him saying it. And says like the BLM, we not sellouts. We don't agree with scammers. Exactly, agreed. And I don't believe I should have to lie because of the color of my skin. I'm really against that. Shout out to Ann says wasn't never going to happen. It wasn't. Like, it wasn't even like, you know, like they know it was never going to happen. Like, it wasn't like a fist fight. Nothing happened. Literally. Even when people say, well, he was trying to kick him out the tent. You can't stab nobody for kicking you out the tent. You can't stab somebody. I mean, you can do it, but you're going to get in trouble. You know what I mean? You can't stab somebody for kicking you out the tent or for pushing you on the shoulder. Like, come on. And says if a black kid stabs another black kid, then the stabber is going to jail. Yes, they are. And I know some people wanted to make the argument too. What if it was a black kid stabbing another black kid? He would have went to jail. Would it? But see, here's the thing. Those black activists wouldn't have highlighted that case. That's the only difference. We just wouldn't have heard about it. But that kid would have went to jail. Shout out Prince says this trial was full of pipe dreams. It was. But you know, the people, Prince, the people that stand out here, like even the people that's chanting, you have people that lie to them. Like when we was bringing up the whole Willie D thing, they kept saying he was jumped. They, even though when he was arrested, he never mentioned that he was jumped. He's never said he was jumped. Shout out Ann says the very fact this happened on school grounds was another big issue because all the parents can push the fact that they don't feel safe with their kids now. And that is an important thing to note too as well. And they've been cracking down on teenagers. I don't know if people know this, but even when it comes to fighting, it's zero tolerance. I don't care if you get jumped. And I know someone at school got jumped, fought back. Guess what? They got suspended as well. It is zero tolerance. That's another big thing. You had somebody stabbed at a school event for a push in the shoulder. Ain't no way in hell they was going to send that boy home. Let's see. Press says no one would have cared if it was a black kid shanking another black kid. Zero damns to give. Exactly. That's, they wouldn't have picked that one up. They're only trying to push a certain agenda. That's all it is. What video I got next?
The case of Karmelo.
This guy was interviewing. Oh, he's interviewing Jeff Metcalf.
Seemed pretty cut and dried early on. I mean, of course, there was this overlay of race because he was black and the kids were white. But once you got into it seemed to be a pretty straight line analysis of a kid who decided to stab someone that he was in a disagreement with to death. The person he was disagreeing with was Austin Metcalf. And you'll remember the jury didn't have a single black person on it. And that was an issue, but the judge had dealt with it and said this case has nothing to do with race, so why would the race comply with the law? That is true under the law. You'd have to find that you were intentionally keeping people of a certain race off for a certain reason, and that didn't seem to be here. Now,
As another lie they told. They tried to say, well, it was an all-white jury, and it wasn't an all-white jury. It just didn't. The black teachers were kicked off because they were teachers. Prince says, I say that on TikTok. I had people making videos on me. I welcome the stupidity. Prove me right every time. I seen you, Prince, man. I seen you arguing with people on TikTok too. Oh man. Ann says the only thing that I care about is did it really deserve 35 years? Because that is a rather steep sentence for a first time offend. I do think 35 years was steep. And I thought about that when it happened because I've seen I've seen adults that have murdered each other. And I've seen some of them get 15, 20 years, 25. But I think he could have got more time. I think the best decision that his defense team made was was electing for the jury to decide sentencing. And I think because, see, a judge is used to sentencing. A judge is used to sentencing people. A judge can sentence you life in prison, go home and sleep like a baby. Everyday regular citizens, not so much. And I think that because people have to remember the jury has to live there. And so I think when they looked at the options, do we sentence him to life? Do we sentence him to 15, 20 years? The community is going to be. So I think they just kind of landed in the middle, to be honest with you. And they know that he has the opportunity to go up and get parole and, get out earlier than 35 years. So I think that's why they picked 35 years. That's just my opinion. I don't have no proof of that. Yeah.
Though that judge is extrajudicial ugly stuff.
Let me get to the interview part.
Being put on trial.
Of his
I wanted to
dad.
talk to his father about it, and Jeff Metcalf agreed and joined to come on to discuss it. Jeff, thank you for taking the time and the opportunity.
Thank you, Chris. Glad to be here with you tonight.
So, you know everything I know and more. What do you make of the developments
Hold on, I gotta get some water. I'll be right back. Hold on.
that we saw today?
I mean, it's another procedural trial hearing, just like yesterday for the judge. Today is for, talk about the retrial, if they're going to grant that or not. Yeah, information did come out. I'll be honest, as a father, I was disappointed, very disappointed in seeing those things. But at the end of the day, it's really about the facts of the case, because I have to relive this all over again. And no matter what the outcome of this is, my son's never coming home. So
I understand, and I think you've been incredibly strong in how you have stood up and what you've talked about and what you've said. And when you say it was disappointing, are you disappointed in what you heard, or are you disappointed that you heard it at all and that it's part of this situation?
Just disappointed as a father. I mean, we all want our children to be, the best they can be. And obviously we all fall short, but, to see that information that I had never actually seen before, but I knew at some of the incidents we had dealt with it at home. But I'm just saying, I'm just very disappointed in what I saw from my sons. And it still doesn't change the facts of the case. And that's what, and this foundation, because I'll be honest, when I left today, I was very angry when I left court. Well, one of the things I'm teaching with this foundation is impulse control, you know, and de-escalation and to regulate your emotions. Well, it took me 15 minutes today driving home to get my emotions in check. I can understand how people can make a split-second decision and it can be the wrong one. And it can put someone in a grave or someone in a cell. And that's why this foundation is why I started it, the Austin Metcalf Foundation. So we don't have situations like this. So people don't feel like I feel today. Because I'm telling you as a parent, you don't ever want to feel this pain. And nor would I wish this upon my worst enemy. And to sit there and watch my son be dragged through the mud again today, the same stuff that was said for 14 months, if you want to try to assassinate character, it's do what you think is right.
Yeah, I don't believe his dad though when he says he had never heard of that stuff before. Some of those things he had never heard. I don't believe him, because then how in the same breath when he says like, well, we worked on it at home. Like, come on, guy, get out of here. Y'all knew. Y'all knew. You know, you just pretend like people were lying. So yeah, you know, and I get him being upset because his son passed away. I get that, but you can drop the front.
But at the end of the day, the facts are very simple. He stabbed an unarmed child to death.
Let me see if I can get this loaded up. I don't know why my computer be acting slow lately. I'm gonna delete every damn thing on this crap. Start over.
Jeff Metcalf is facing backlash after saying this.
I got a new name for Mello.
It's glitchy itchy. It's glitchy itchy over here. Yeah, after all this, I'm gonna restart my computer.
Jeff Metcalf is facing backlash after saying this.
I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy I was trying to portray. How about Watermelon Felon? How's that one strike you? I hope he enjoyed his first night in that cell last night.
So what do y'all think about Jeff comments? Some people.
Yeah. What a way to show your racist side. Guess that's where your son got it from.
And that's it. End of story. You can make up whatever color, whatever happened 4, 5, 6 years ago had nothing to do with what happened that day underneath that tent.
Jeff, what do you think of the prospect of a new trial?
To be honest, I'll say the same thing as I said yesterday. It's 50-50. It's either going to be granted or denied. I'm fine with either one.
Let's see. Yeah, Prince. I laughed when I saw it. I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't upset or nothing. Let me not front. I thought it was funny. But I thought it was telling though at the same time. I laugh at a lot of stuff. Shout out Robbie says you don't know what's in that man's heart. He lost his son. I agree. And Robbie, when he said what he said, I chucked it up to he's just upset. Sometimes people say mean things when they get upset. I didn't condemn him for saying that. And his dad is correct though. In the same breath, my opinion is basically on the fact of we tried to portray these two young men as like these upstanding, they never did no wrong and all of this, and the race stuff came into it and everything. And I think everybody's kind of finding out that the prosecutor and the defense got together and duped us all. To be honest with you. And I think people choose to, and here's my problem with it. We could focus on people just coming together and learning how to make better decisions, but we just rather lie about everything. These are two young men that needed help. Neither one of them, obviously, judging from their past, knew how to handle conflict very well. And to me, that's what it's really about. And I think we choose to lie, push the whole race thing, and who does that help? It doesn't help anybody at all. And I think this case was mishandled. I don't like any of this. I wish the world was just more honest. That's just really my opinion on all of this.
So I don't put a whole lot of thought process into that. I'm really putting a lot of thought process because this whole week.
Oh, and I want to add this point though too, that if the past doesn't change anything, then why was it hidden? That's the only thing I would add to that. Prince says, but black make new races every day. That man sat there and watched people say his son deserved it. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah, and I was with you because you pointed that out when the case first started happening, and I agree with you. I couldn't deny that because I was like thinking to myself, I said, if he wasn't a racist before, he's a racist now for sure. Like if you could turn on your TV and see people saying your kid deserved to die, that's bound to make people hate anybody. Shout out Patrick says he can come home in 17 years. I don't know, Patrick. After this hearing and all the information they released about these kids, I mean, the only one in prison is Karmelo. I don't know if he goes up for parole in 17 years and they look at this evidence and choose to release him now that they've decided to tell all this business. Yeah, Patrick, I seen that one where it's saying Karmelo beat his girlfriend. Let's see. Ann says, right, his brother gets my side eye. I think the brother gets a side eye from everybody, honestly, because it was like, why didn't he get up on that stand? You know? Let's see. Robbie says, if anything, the defense team messed up. Yeah, I think we all agree on that one. He had a sucky. His defense was the worst ever. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, man.
Week has kind of put me on hold and not being able to work with my foundation. My foundation is my purpose, my mission. This is what's going to save lives. This is what's going to keep this from happening again. I just want to touch other people's lives and change the world one person at a time. If I can save one life, I'm a success. But if I can't, I'm a failure.
Listen, I think that the judgment is in the effort, brother, not in the outcomes. If you're trying to help people and you're trying to help them de-escalate in the ways that you say that the AMF is going to be about, the effort is the standard, not the outcomes. All you can do is try to make a difference, and you're clearly doing that. Here's something I wanted to ask you, get your take on this. Look, the information about your son, true or untrue, I get why you don't need to hear it in this setting and you don't want to hear it as a parent. I get you. I'm one as well. But the stuff about Karmelo Anthony and what he said to his girlfriend about wanting to stab somebody and the imagery, the fact that they made a deal to not have that come in, rarely is the victim's character relevant. But the defendant's character is always relevant. And I just thought that was a bizarre deal to make. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I wasn't privy. I didn't know it went down. I thought he was going to
Right.
testify.
I don't know.
To not have that come in, rarely about the effort is the standard, not the outcomes. All you can do is try to make a difference, and you're clearly doing that. Here's something I wanted to ask you, get your take on this. Look, the information about your son, true or untrue, I get why you don't need to hear it in this setting and you don't want to hear it as a parent. I get you. I'm one as well. But the stuff about Karmelo Anthony and what he said to his girlfriend about wanting to stab somebody and the imagery, the fact that they made a deal to not have that come in, rarely is the victim's character relevant. But the defendant's character is always relevant. And I just thought that was a bizarre deal to make. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I wasn't privy. I didn't know it went down. I thought he was going to testify. And so after the trial, it was explained to me, you know, because I was expecting more information to come out. And they said, well, you know, both sides agreed not to bring character into it, which to me, it made sense. Because really what we're looking at is what happened that day underneath the tent. What they did 4 or 5 years ago, I don't think it has relevance as far as what's happening today, because I'll ask everybody out there. I'm 61 now. I am not the same person when I was 18 or 19. I don't know anyone who doesn't grow and learn and create mistakes.
Of course.
Mistakes are always made, but we try to minimize the damage. Because I told my sons this: you're free to make any choice you want in life, but you're not free from the consequences.
Yep.
Now,
Amen.
I forgave
You are right.
Carmelo. Now, I didn't forgive him for him. I gave him for me. So I'll have peace. So I'll have, you know, so I can
Understood.
go on and move forward. This is not going to keep me prisoner. So, you know, whatever came out about him, I'm not trying to draw conclusions. I don't have all the facts, all the stuff they have on him. I do know it was a 75-page document.
Yeah.
And what I saw today was disturbing. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know
I
that.
understand.
I didn't know it existed.
I understand, and now we know, and we'll see what it will mean. But Jeff, you'll always have a platform here.
You know what, y'all? I actually kind of changed my mind on the father. Maybe he wasn't privy to a lot of things. And I don't know, y'all. For this boy to have stabbed his son and killed him, and for him to still turn around and say, don't really care what Karmelo did in the past. I only care about what he did that day. Let's stick to that. Was that illegal? Man. Some people get mad at me for saying that. I gotta give him respect for that. So maybe he wasn't privy to a lot of those things. Because in a way, he's kind of absolving Carmelo's past, saying, well, let's just deal with what those boys did that day. Maybe they did some crazy shit in the past. Whatever. Has nothing to do with that day. Let's see. Ann says, was Carmelo suspended already behind that knife? I heard this, but wasn't sure. I had heard that too. I looked it up, and the sources I saw said he wasn't suspended that day, because some people saying he wasn't supposed to be at a school event. They was trying to say that. 1 minute they said it about Carmelo, and then 1 minute they were saying that about Austin Metcalf or the brother or something like that. But none of them were suspended that day. Because you had people saying it about you had people saying that about both sides.
One day after winning their fight,
arguing over whether Anthony's rights were violated.
Oh my gosh. So over everything. Everything. All righty then. Yeah, you're right. And it's so much, too much. Yeah, man, it's so much misinformation that clouded everything. You know what's weird about that? The people that have claimed that Carmelo Anthony didn't get a fair trial, they're part of the reason he didn't get a fair trial. Um, when people spread so much misinformation, getting involved, I mean, they were doxing people's addresses, giving out their phone numbers. Um, Somebody even swatted um Austin Metcalf's dad, you know, and his son is the one that died. You know what I mean? So it was to the point where they were like, and shout out to you too, and appreciate you. And you know, it got to the point where they're like, we can't even have this trial here. We might need to move um to another location. You know, that's how bad it got. You know, so the people that are sit here and say, "Oh, well, we don't have a fair trial," eh, when people put themselves in the middle of a trial and spread misinformation, you make it to where it's hard to have a fair trial. It's you make it to where it's hard to find a juror that's going to be impartial. When people do that, they're not helping anything when they do those things. So the people that saying it wasn't a fair trial, they're upset about something that happened in the trial, is their fault. Yeah. So Ann said, wasn't there a white reporter lady she had to sue? Ah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But speaking of reporters, you even had people that were reporting or getting like information like in the trial that was threatened and stuff like that. That's going on right now with the Nolan Wells case. You got a lot of even reporters being threatened, and even in the Nolan Wells case, one of the judges was threatened. One of the boys' moms is a judge, and she was threatened. So yeah, these cases get crazy. Let's see, Princess Jeff Metcalf was swatted like 3 times. Oh wow, yeah, I didn't know it was 3 times. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Me, I'm more so in the middle. I'm always in the middle of everything. I'm a sucker for like trying to make everybody get along. Let's see.
Murdering another teen, Austin Metcalf, at a track meet last year.
This new information that jurors never heard in a hearing on whether Anthony should get a new trial. Our Meredith Yeoman has all the details from the court. What's next?
That was the reaction outside the Collin County Courthouse after the first day of Karmelo Anthony's new trial hearing. Inside, his defense team spent the day trying to show Judge Michael Chitty why Anthony's action should be. The test focused on what happened behind closed during the trial.
I already seen that one already.
The tent at the Frisco track meet was never the whole story.
Jason Whitlock be cracking me up, saying certain things that I think is a talent.
New details that were withheld during Carmelo Anthony's murder trial are now coming out. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
I'm Steve Eagers, 9 o'clock. Anthony is seeking a new trial for the 2025 stabbing death of Austin Metcalf. Anthony's attorneys argue the trial judge violated his rights by holding off-the-record conferences. And today, a chunk of the hearing focused on a so-called gentleman's agreement that governed how the trial played out. Fox 4's Amelia Jones has the latest on today's hearing. Amelia.
Heather, Steve, a lot to digest in court today. We've only heard from 2 out of the 12 witnesses defense attorney Russell Wilson plans to call. Today's testimony focused on allegations of a shadow docket, off-the-record proceedings, and a disputed gentleman's agreement between the prosecution and defense. Evidence the jury never heard during Karmelo Anthony's murder trial was revealed in court Thursday as his new defense team argues for a new trial. The 19-year-old was convicted of murder in June and sentenced to 35 years in prison for fatal.
Hey, yo, Prince, you correct. He is he is man. He's definitely on the other side, man. Yo, he be saying some, they call me diabolical, but he be saying some diabolical crap, man. I wanna find a video with talking about Karmelo Anthony's past history. Is the one I'm looking for right now. My God. Where is it at? All right, I found it. All right. I'm gonna play this.
When evidence was presented showing Austin Metcalf's disturbing record of fights, bullying, and racist behavior. Karmelo Anthony was dressed in a suit and tie for this morning's hearing, which began with the defense arguing that efforts by the trial judge and prosecutors to combat threats and deal with disruptions actually prevented Anthony from getting an open and fair trial. But bombshell testimony came this afternoon from Anthony's trial attorney, Mike Howard, about Austin Metcalf's background report that was never presented to the jury. CBS News Texas has also learned new details about Austin Metcalf's background. Metcalf and his brother Hunter were once caught spray painting graffiti, including KKK Kill All Blacks and Heil Hitler, along with the N-word, and were sentenced to 12 months of juvenile probation. Records reveal they reportedly told authorities, "We did some dumb stuff. We did some vandalism." There are several documented instances of Austin using racial slurs in school, and in 2023, Austin was accused of bullying a black student in class. In 2018, while still in elementary school, Austin and his brother were accused of bullying and assaulting a female, which led to his arrest. During an argument in 2024 with another female student, Austin allegedly knocked her to the ground and punched her in the stomach. He was also kicked out of a football game and texted someone later, "I was about to beat the expletive out of those kids." At a previous track meet, when another student alerted Austin that someone not on their team, quote, "behind our bench was talking wild," Austin reportedly replied, "Kill that MF." During the 2023-2024 school year, he received in-school suspension twice. School disciplinary records from April 2022 to May 2024 reveal that Austin reportedly called a teacher the B word and used profanity. He told a school official that he couldn't control it and wasn't aware that it was coming out of his mouth. In 2024, on at least 5 occasions, Austin saw a counselor regarding his anger and rage during a football game. In 2021, he got banned from attending basketball games for a season after yelling profanity at a player. Metcalf also got suspended after he and another student were talking about bringing a gun to school the following day.
You know what, and I was thinking that too, like how they were even allowed to stay on the team and participate in things if they were this violent. Like, who's been protecting them this whole time and covering up the things that they have been doing. Another thing that I thought about too is Austin Metcalf, his brother. Now that this information is out, does it affect him? Because he's done with school. Does this affect him when he goes to apply at a college? You know, if he continues on in sports, this is going to affect him being on other teams. Anything in his life, is this going to affect him now that they've attached this racist past to him? Even, you know, one would argue that he was a kid when doing these things. I wonder how this would affect his future now that this information has been released. I wonder. Let's see. What's up, what's that? DHI? D hit him hard. That's funny. I read it out. You said even with all that, you can't stab someone for hurting your feelings. Now we agree. Yeah. Even with all that, you can't. But I'm just thinking about what happens now that all this information is out. The new information that we know about Karmelo Anthony, he goes up for parole. Will this hurt him? Austin Metcalf's brother leaving school, going to college, getting a job, going out into the world, opportunities. Will this affect him because he's attached to this high profile case? So I could see why the parents of these children wouldn't want this information to come out. Let's see. Oh, Prince saying that track record Jeff Metcalf knew. Yeah, he might have knew the track record, but he was claiming he didn't really know about the gentleman's agreement. And that's like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess, but I don't know. I still think it would benefit Austin's brother, definitely, because he still has to he graduated from high school. He still has to go on with the rest of his life. That deal would help him because in the things that they're releasing, it's Austin and his brother doing these things. Let's see. Patrick said he hits girls for practice. Prince says it doesn't change what happened though. Mello is where he's supposed to be. My TikTok aged great. Yeah, you gotta stop acting up on TikTok, man. Shout out to Ann says, good question.
But the never before released details of Anthony's early years in Louisiana up to the day of his arrest for murder are also disturbing. On the day that Karmelo Anthony would fatally stab Austin Metcalf, prosecutors say he sent this text message at 1 a.m., which said, quote, "I'm low-key on the verge," and then emphasized it. Later in the morning, on April 2nd, 2025, and hours before Anthony would kill Metcalf with a knife at a...
All right, let me go back and freeze it on that because I saw, let me see. All right, so these text messages are dated April 2nd, 2025. This is at nighttime, 12:59 a.m. And then at 1:43 a.m., it was emphasized. And I saw like they had, I guess it was some family members. I wish I had it prepared, but I don't even have that video prepared. But it was some family members or somebody on there saying that a lot of the text messages they presented from Karmelo Anthony was from like years and years and years ago. But we can see right here, they're saying these text messages come from 2025. I don't know if they meant all the text messages came from years and years ago, or the people that was talking didn't know what they were talking about, or if they were only talking about the text message where he said, "I want to stab somebody," and lick the blood off the knife. But these text messages ain't from years and years and years ago.
"I'm low-key on the verge," and then emphasized it. Later in the morning, on April 2nd, 2025, and hours before Anthony would kill Metcalf with a knife at a high school track meet, prosecutors say Anthony's girlfriend reported to a Centennial High School staff member that Anthony was engaging in stalking behavior, to include but not limited to driving by her home and refusing to allow her to end their relationship. Also, in the 75-page filing, prosecutors say Anthony had previously been accused of stealing his girlfriend's phone, and in October 2024, wrote a to-do list for his girlfriend about how to deal with, quote, weirdos, which included the line, "Say some slick, like my boyfriend, kill people." There are also text messages where he admits on at least, "like my boyfriend, kill."
Let's see. So this is to-do list. Weirdos. Get full name. Get license plate number. Give my number. and at the end say some slick like my boyfriend killed people and curse them out about how much of a weirdo they are. Think about how. Okay. I don't know who makes to-do lists like that. That's kind of weird.
People. There are also text messages where he admits on at least 2 occasions to punching girls in the face.
All right, so now this one is from November the 17th. This is in 2021. So what 5 years ago? He sent this at 1:10 p.m. and I said the name Vicky, and she tried to start hitting me. And I was running till she pulled my hair and she started hitting me. So I punched her in the face. Yeah, see this one, see how they trying to add some sauce on this one? Yeah, he said he punched her in the face, but he's clearly describing someone assaulting him when he's trying to get away from them. So this boy was, I don't know, y'all. He might have had some trauma, like he was getting bullied and beat up by a girl in this one. So I don't know. Let's see. Patrick says it happened. Nah, it didn't happen in New Orleans, Patrick. It happened in Texas. Yeah. Prince said he must have been around the wrong people in New Orleans. Prince says we don't talk about licking blood off blades out here. Yeah. Ann said it sounded like he was planning on hurting somebody to make a statement of sort. That's kind of what it seemed like. It'd be people like that, they be waiting for the opportunity to hurt somebody. But yeah, in this text message in 2021, he definitely was getting beat up by a girl when he said that. This text right here that's on the screen.
Face. Prosecutors also found text messages from 2021 between Anthony and another student. Prosecutors also found text messages from 2021 between Anthony and another student about robbing someone of $300. There were also text messages where Anthony talks about a fight and punching someone so hard he had to stop fighting. In 2023, prosecutors say Anthony told a friend he was going to vandalize someone's house in Austin, saying, quote, "I just feel like it. I got a grudge." In 2021, Anthony told a friend he had been suspended from school for 3 days for fighting, saying, quote, "They said next time I do some, I get recommended for expulsion." In a text conversation with a friend in 2023, prosecutors have messages from Anthony where he wrote, "I'm going to shoot the school up tomorrow with my blick," but later sends messages saying, "I would never actually do that." In a 2024 text thread, prosecutors say Anthony admitted to carrying a firearm, telling a friend before a party that he would have the gun in my pocket. There are other message threads where Anthony also mentions carrying a gun. After numerous suspensions for fighting while attending school in Louisiana.
And this is all serious stuff too. You're talking about an underage kid, with that has a gun in their possession. This stuff is not even funny at all, man. You have schools getting shut down because you have these kids calling in threats saying that they're gonna do these things at a school and they got to shut schools down and do investigations and find these kids and stuff, man. That's troubling to see a kid with a gun, posting it, making jokes, saying he's gonna come up to the school and use that gun. The gentleman's agreement helped him in trial. Prince said, my question is, who sat and read all that ish between years? I don't know. They might have known to look for it because that girlfriend or some friend of his, somebody told on him and they wouldn't look, because that's a lot of scrolling to go back to.
There are messages between Anthony and his girlfriend after he moved to Frisco. In one message thread, she suggests he should sit for a while, and he replied, "Yeah, and punch people, maybe run sometimes. I have to. It's like a priority for me. I like punching people. When I get mad, I see red. When I get mad, I black out. When I get mad, I can't control myself." Prosecutors also produced messages where Anthony admits to getting high and drinking alcohol and even talking about selling drugs to get guns. In 2024, prosecutors say Anthony even attempted to assault a teacher, saying, "I put my hands and face and everything." Also in 2024, messages obtained by
And that's why they can't really use that whole "he was afraid" thing, because unless he lying in his text messages, but he said he black out, he see red. Prince says, but look, it's kids like him that have us as parents afraid of something happening to our kids at school, being picked on like a girl. Exactly. Yeah. That he's that kid. It was like he was a terror. Like,
prosecutors suggest Anthony tried to bring a weapon into the State Fair of Texas, asking a friend if the State Fair got metal detectors. When he was told yes, his friend responded, "You got the poker?" "Yeah, I might have to toss it," replied Anthony. Prosecutors say Anthony admitted to stealing a watch and earbuds in separate burglaries in Collin County, and also to bringing a weapon onto a Frisco school campus, saying this about his girlfriend: "She went in my bag to get my computer, and I said no, and she still went in it and grabbed it, and my gun and my knife and some other stuff fell out." There are numerous unreleased photos and videos of Anthony holding firearms and making threats, and authorities found a note on Anthony's phone with a long list of
that boy had an AK, what was that, an AK-47 or something? Wow. And they thought it was a good idea to do an appeal and let all this information come out. Wow. And I don't know if he's throwing up a gang sign or something too in that picture. This is just sad.
And authorities found a note on Anthony's phone with a long list of disturbing racial tropes and slurs about blacks, whites, and Hispanics. In one message thread, prosecutors say Anthony wrote, "I hate gay people." Prosecutors say Anthony repeatedly threatened to murder his girlfriend in text messages, some of them saying, "How many bullets you want coming out of your chest?" and "I'm going to get you," expletive. He also threatened her with a knife in one message and told her in another, "When I stab somebody, I'm going to lick their blood off the blade."
Prince says, and Mellow Pops in mine was making him out to be St. John the Baptist. They love that story where they say he saved somebody's life. We got Stanley says these kids are our future. Stanley, I hope not. I really, really hope not. Oh my God. This is crazy.
Prosecutors and defense attorneys were able to develop these character reports from a combination of school records, police reports, and cell phone extractions. The hearing is expected to end sometime tomorrow. It will resume at 9 a.m.
Well, it's about that time. Let's see. I've been doing this on now for 3 hours. See, Stanley says, where are we as a society going wrong with our kids? I don't know. I don't think it's us as a society, you know, I think us as a society have to deal with the parents that are not paying attention to their kids. You know, when I see a young man that's posting pictures with a gun and an AK, it tells me that somebody is not watching them. You know, um, somebody's not somebody's not paying attention to them. That's what it tells me. And right, Prince, that hating the LGBTQ text was random. It was. They had to throw it in there. But apparently not only so it seems like Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony was saying some racist things in their message. You know, so hey. Two troubled kids. It truly is sad, man. I never want to see someone get hurt or lose their life, especially over something silly like a tent at a track meet that neither one of your parents spent their money on. Sad. Just senseless violence is what it was. Shout out to Stanley says, "Oh, bro, thanks for showing this new information on both sides." No, appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you. I just kind of went over everything, and you really didn't. You know, I don't know if you just got in here, but you didn't really miss anything at all. I just was like, let me sit down and watch everything that's transpired over these past what's been like 3-4 days. The hearing. I'm not on any side. I'm on the side of I want children to go to school and I want those children to go back home safely. That's the only side I'm on, where everybody goes home safely. Prince says, so basically this whole live in a nutshell. What you saying? Austin wasn't ish. We know Melo ain't ish, and he's where he should be. Prince is doing his victory lap because he a lot of people on TikTok said he was wrong about how the trial was going to go and the information that would be released. And so I know when I get over on TikTok, he's going to be acting up. I already know it. Shout out to Ann says, thanks for the info. Thank you, Ann. Thank you for everybody that came into the chat, everybody that thumbs up the video and liked it. I appreciate you all. Ann says, essentially, yep, in a nutshell, yep, yeah, that's what it was. These were two troubled young men that the powers that be, the government, they try to use these two boys to make people fight, is what I think it was. That's what it was. All right, let me get into my final thoughts. Justice or technicality. Okay, so as we have watched the final stages of the motions, the hearings unfold until the weekend this Saturday, where we find out that there will be no new trial. Not right now, at least. Now, I heard there's other motions that they're probably going to go through, but as it stands right now, the 35-year sentence isn't going anywhere. So this case has forced us to look at a deeply uncomfortable reality of the American justice system. On one side of the courtroom sits the family of Austin Metcalf. To them, a jury of 12 citizens looked at the evidence, saw a tragic stabbing, and delivered a legal verdict. They argue that no matter what text messages or school records existed in the past, nothing justifies a knife piercing a teenager's heart over a sports tent. For them, retrial is a painful reopening of a wound that hasn't even begun to heal. But on the other side sits Karmelo Anthony in a community that believes the system failed the young man. If a trial is supposed to be a search for the total truth, how can a true verdict be reached when both sides hide the real context of who these boys were? And then you have those of us that would say, does the past matter? Was it fair? Was it unfair? Does it seem fair? Because we did just only focus on that day, regardless of who they were in their past. A judge, you know, when a judge validates a verdict on television before the appellate process even begins, does the integrity of the courtroom survive? If Judge Chitty if Judge Chitty would have granted the defense's motion for a new trial, the 35-year conviction would have been wiped off the books. The state of Texas would have had to start from absolute zero as a selection of a new jury, and all 75 pages of Anthony's dossier, alongside Metcalf's troubled school records. It would have all been laid out for the world to see. It's at the point where, this isn't about a track meet anymore. This is about what happens when the rules of the court break down under the immense weight of public pressure, internet anger, and backroom legal deals. And should the public have that much power to influence law, right, wrong? Shout out to Prince that says facts, and shout out to Ann that says sounds like politics. That's another question. Is it what it's always been? Just politics? I don't know. I want to say that I appreciate you all. I'm about to get off. It's been 3 hours. I really, really do appreciate you all. And I really do got love for everyone. Really do. I'm a person that really, I like other people's opinions. Is how I grow as a person. I would hate to only see the world as I see it. I kind of want to see what other people see, point things out to me. I can learn new things from you. Maybe you learn new things from me. You have a good evening as well. And to everyone else, and you too, my brother, Prince. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Did the original jury get it right? Or does Karmelo Anthony deserve a clean slate and a completely new trial? Because there are other motions they can file. This appeals process is not, over and just done with, I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. I hope y'all enjoying my fireplace too, man, with the crackling sound. It's soothing, man. That's what I do now at nighttime. I do the fireplace sound. Some people like the nature noises. I don't know why, but I love the fireplace sound. And I discovered it because normally you do it. Everybody does it like at Christmas time. And I was like, why I gotta wait to Christmas? I do this all year round, All right. So also don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video. This is Risky Behavior ENT. And I am signing off. And Press says, yeah, I was peeping out the firewood, bro. I'm telling you, hey man, this is my new thing, man. I'm gonna use it in some more videos. Watch. Anywho, man, this is Risky Behavior ENT. I am your humble host, Mr. Diabolical. I'm signing off. I want you all to make sure you stay safe out there. Appreciate y'all, and I'm gonna see you next time.
Risky behavior.